morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, the 12th of May, 2026. I have still got granola between my teeth, so, if I've got something there, just let me know. Just quickly slurp down my breakfast. Normally, I don't have any breakfast till after the show, but I was so hungry yesterday. And obviously we had a bit of an extended show because Starmer made a speech. So I was like, if that happens again, I don't want to be sitting there starving Marvin. So yeah, all good. Lidl's granola that they make is bloody wonderful. And it's not expensive either. It's cheaper than cornflakes. Well, Kellogg's cornflakes. Anyway, I digress. Hello and good morning and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World. I'm Hughes and this is the world. Nice having you here with us this morning. Now, obviously, this is a live and interactive show. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe and then you can join in with the chat. So we've got Diz, we've got Billy, we've got Sarah in the chat, we've got Lost Missionary, we've got Miss Paula Thomas, we've got L Butterfly Effect, we've got Saz in the chat, we have got Graham David Hughes, whoever that is, and others. If you would like to join our friends in the chat, all you need to do, hit the subscribe button, wait for 1 minute, and you'll be able to join in with the discussion of what the hell? Oh my God. So, I'll put on the thumbnail for today's show, squeaky bum time, and it most certainly is squeaky bum time at this particular moment in time. Lost Mission says, I put it right, that seriously, the buy activity is crazy. It's really time to stop this insane nonsense. What's wrong with bisexuals? Oh, you talking about something else? Just Trump is going to China this week, so nothing in terms of actual violence towards Iran yet. Just getting stuff in position. Hey, before I talk about what's happening with Starmer, I've just watched an interesting video about Iran and its secret weapons that it has. So the Strait of Hormuz, right? Obviously, that's a secret weapon. But also the water that these American ships are sitting in is not the water that these ships are designed to operate in, because the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea are extraordinarily hot. If you look at a map of the world, look at a globe of the world, you'll see Africa there, and you'll see the Sahara Desert across the top, and then that goes into the Arabian Desert, and then that goes into Iran. And that area there tends to be coloured sort of a tan colour rather than a green colour on the map. That's because it's bloody hot. It's right around the Tropic of Cancer, which means that you get a lot of heat halfway through the year, tons and tons of heat when the sun is directly overhead in the Tropic of Cancer. And then as it disappears down into the south, it doesn't disappear, but you know what I mean, to go towards the Tropic of Capricorn. The equator, I mean, that's really green because that has sun all year round, but not the case in the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So as a result, you've got these deserts, right? And these are really hot areas of the world. And one of the things that you have in hot water is warmer waters than the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, where these boats were really designed to operate, is you get a lot of fouling, right? That's not when people shit themselves, when they fart and follow through. No, that it's actually when you get stuff growing on the bottom of your ship, right? And in warm waters, that happens a lot faster and it's a lot more intense than if you are sitting in cold water, where it won't happen as much. If you're up in the Arctic, you won't get much fouling. If you are in very, very hot tropical waters, you're going to get a lot more fouling on the bottom of your ship. And as you can imagine, it's pretty difficult to scrape the barnacles off your little 50-foot, yacht. Never mind a aircraft carrier that's almost a mile long. So you can imagine that creates a lot of problems for the ship because you need to literally scrape this stuff off. There's no other way of getting rid of it. You can't just go fast and it all comes off, like when you get the glue all over your face in Super Mario Kart or that orgy that your dad was on Friday night. Anyway, so the other thing is these big aircraft carriers, these big fuck off ships that the Americans have got. They also rely on desalination. And because this water is so nutrient rich, it's a lot more salty than the water elsewhere where these ships were designed to hang out for a long time. And it puts a lot more strain on the desalination treatment that they need for drinking water, for bathing, for showering, for keeping clean, for cooking. Again, it's putting these ships under tremendous amounts of strain. And so Iran, by dint of having the Strait of Hormuz and by dint of being surrounded by very, very, very salty water, comparatively to other seas, it could just fucking sit there. Like, the longer Iran just goes, whatever, keeps the ceasefire negotiations going, keep the peace treaty negotiations going, the better for them. The better for them. Isn't this mad? So they don't have to do anything. This is geography. And it's why it winds me up when people who haven't got a clue about geography start talking about politics or history. I'm like, you can't understand politics. You can't understand history. You can't understand modern warfare. You can't understand ancient warfare unless you understand geography. It's the most important thing before you set off on a daft military adventure around the world. You have to really understand what you're getting into. And what the Americans have got into is a fucking quagmire. Also, not helped by the fact that Trump is like trying to say that it's not a war. But every time he breaks the ceasefire, he goes, well, it all stopped when we had the ceasefire come in. Because his big problem is he's got to ask the Congress, right, their parliament, he's got to ask them for permission after, I think it's 6 or 8 weeks or whatever, of invading another country, if it's okay if he invades another country. And he's like, no, we're not at war now, we're not at war because we've had a ceasefire. But every time that ceasefire is broken, that's another day added on to the... Yeah, but like, I was going to do something yesterday about America. I was going to do just a stateside on my own. I was going to talk about gerrymandering for the American midterms because of what's gone through the Supreme Court last week or the week before, where they gutted last month they gutted the Voter Rights Act, but this week they've done a thing where there was where was it, Mississippi? There was like Mississippi, and there was only one congressional district that was majority black, only one, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, get rid of that. And it didn't give any reason, didn't give any writing, just said, yeah, no. And just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. So if anyone was holding out hope that the midterms will come and save the day, they won't. On top of that, I just want to say, I was right. Everything I say is right. Well, not everything, but, I was right. Actually, I need to do a new I was right, where it says, I was right, fuck my life. I think I'm going to have to get a new one that says that, because sometimes I don't want to be right. The Congress is not going to ride the Constitution is not going to ride over the hill on a shiny white horse and save the day. It's not going to happen. What else have we got? Bam, blam, blam. Thank you very much. I was reading this chat this morning. I saw people complaining about ads that were coming through on the stream, even though Graham has switched them off. But Smart Tube stops all that. Yes, that'll be good. Let's do that. Good morning. Feeling delicate today, so it may just be lurking. So Shropshire Chris. I'm sorry you're feeling delicate, mate. I completely understand. I've had a cold for the last bloody week. It's been shit. This desk is covered in bloody tissues. Looks like I've been not blowing my nose, if you know what I mean. Anyway, big protests in Memphis. Yeah. I was right to fuck my life. Yeah. It's what the billionaires want. But here's the thing, right? Every society on Earth, right, since the dawn of any civilization, has got to a breaking point. And the breaking point, you can call it the spirit level, right? There's a point where it's not about people being poor, right? Poor people all over the world. That's fine. People don't care, right? If everyone's poor, everyone around them is poor, relatively, right? It's not a big problem, right? I know it's shit for the people having to be poor, but they're a lot less likely to rise up. When people rise up, every time, throughout history, it is when the peasants revolt, it's not because they're poor. It's because the people who are rich are well and truly taking the piss. And this can manifest itself in lots of ways. Most notably, I don't know, the Russian Revolution, French Revolution. Just saying. Or it could be in the form of land reform. It could be done, in peaceful ways. But there is a point at which people are like, I'm as mad as hell, I'm not going to take this anymore. And it's kind of why we saw a lot of voters leaving for the Greens and for refuck, because a lot of them, and not everyone who voted for refuck is a massive dickhead racist. A lot of people just don't pay attention to the politics, and they're like, this isn't working. Whatever's happening now isn't working. And I really feel like if Starmer is having a cabinet meeting today, I don't think there's too many people in the cabinet who are going to turn against him. I don't know. I know Shabana Mahmood, our Home Secretary, has said he should set out a timetable for getting out of office, which I kind of agree with, even though I don't like her at all. And Yvette Cooper's the former Home Secretary. She's also said things along this line. But the question is no longer really, is Starmer in trouble? That question has already been answered by catastrophic election results last year and this year. Cabinet splits, MPs openly rebelling. I think we're on when I was playing Super Monkey Island. What? I was playing Monkey Island last night. I think we got up to 72 MPs. Need 81, by the way. But and they all need to put letters in, which is a bit different from grumbling on Twitter. We're seeing ministers refusing to guarantee that Starmer will stay in post. Sorry, and there's these broadcast rounds where the Starmer loyalists are coming on. I mean, they sound like bloody funeral directors. Like, I'm very sorry for your loss. And the real question now is like, how does this end? Not like, is it going to end? It's like, how does it end? And because I think Labour last night crossed an important psychological threshold, because MPs are no longer fearing criticising the Prime Minister, which is, it's like that, and that's the way it is. Ministers are arriving as we speak in number 10 to face a crunch meeting with the cabinet split, apparently. Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy has been walking in with Lord Richard Hummer. The mad thing is, we've got the King's Speech tomorrow. We'll get into this in a moment, but this is a big problem for Labour, because the journalists are already discussing succession. Cabinet ministers have been briefing both for and against Starmer. Rival camps are already manoeuvring. Once politics becomes, a succession, what you're looking at is a lame duck prime minister. Yeah, we've got the King's Speech tomorrow, but what if someone else takes over and just says, "Oh, we're not doing any of that," and we have a second King's Speech? How's it going to work? Like, what's going to happen? It's going to be up in the air. Piers Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. It's not the actual starving who rebel. They are too weak. It's the underfed, those who think the system should be treating them better. Well, yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be the middle class in this country. The middle class is being squeezed because we tax wages. So if you're not earning fuck all, you don't pay much tax, right? You get a threshold of 11,800, is it? Something like that. So if you're only earning a little bit more than that, you don't pay much in tax. And then the rich, they don't pay any tax at all. It's the middle class. They're being taxed to fucking oblivion. You've got your income tax. You've got your fucking council tax, which should be paid by your goddamn landlord. And Phil was saying yesterday, oh, well, they'll just put up your rent. Yeah, but they can't now because the Renters' Rights Act in. So, and there'll be a market. There'll be competition for people bringing down the rent. But also, when it comes to council tax, the whole thing needs to be looked at again. We need to look at it again because it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous that a millionaire landowner, right, who owns a bunch of properties, can put people in a they can take an old Victorian house and they can split it into 3 floors, 3 flats, right? And each of the people in those 3 flats, so there's 3 couples living in a couple living in each of the 3 flats, they all have to pay council tax, full council tax. There's 2 of them. So they're paying they're paying 3 times the amount of council tax that the landlord should be bloody paying for a get-go. And I know Phil was saying, well, you get less money then, wouldn't you? Because you'd have a big building. And no, we have to also look at how much the landlord should be charged for owning that property. Because here's the other thing as well. Up till, fairly recently, if you if you were living on your own, you got your council tax taken to a quarter, right? Here's a little funny trick that people used to play, especially when they bought up an entire street full of terraced houses in Liverpool. Until fairly recently, if you bought a house, right, and then stripped it of its habitability, so you took out all the copper pipes, melted them down, took out all the wires, all the cables, no electricity, no gas, no nothing, right? I'm boarded up the windows with metal because that looks so good. You paid half a council tax on that property. Half council tax. They encouraged landlords, rich people from the south, to come up to the northwest and the northeast, buy entire streets worth of terraced houses and just board them up, keep them until the price went up, and then sell them to, I don't know, Liverpool Football Club or something. Allowance is 12,570 PA. So I don't earn much more than that. So my tax burden is quite small compared with someone who is on millions a year, or not on millions because you'll pay tax on that, but they've got clever ways of sorting it. So, for instance, Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, the guy who's a billionaire 100 times over, he actually gets tax credits in America, or the equivalent of tax credits in America, because he earns so little. He gets government subsidies to help feed his children because he earns so little, because of the way that they say, oh, well, he's only earning this amount. But of course, he can take a loan out from the bank of £12 million a day, and he can leverage that against Amazon, his Amazon shares. Happy days. Oh, I saw a story yesterday about a guy who was like a billionaire who was conned out of $450 million by some crypto bullshit. I shouldn't laugh, but I will. 450 million got scammed out of. That's where greed gets you, mate. There's 2 types of scam artists. There's the scumbag scam artists who will play on people's decency. They'll play on people's sense of fair play, and they will pretend to be a charity or something, and then con people out the money. And then there's the other people, the other con artists, who I really have no problem with. I mean, they are parasites, but sometimes, you need a parasite to flush out your, I don't know, whatever, your bad gut bacteria. Leeches. Sometimes they use leeches still in medicine, don't they? So these like leeches, like good leeches, not the ones you get in Stand By Me down your pants. These are the ones that you have when you need to be bloodlet for some reason, right? They take money off dickheads who are greedy. And they're like, hey, dickhead, would you like to make loads of money really fast for doing nothing? Oh, yeah, that sounds great. And they go, taking all your money, bye. I wouldn't pay them back. I don't think there should be anything. I don't think there should even be a law against that. I think it should be encouraged myself. If you're going to take money off people because they're stupid and greedy, then fuck them. And I don't care how elaborate the con is. Just if you're tapping into people's innate sense of greed, well, there's got to be a punishment for that. It's just the universe self-writing. I like to see it as, if you've got that much money and you're going to invest $1.3 million in a fucking picture of a bored ape, come on. My heart does not bleed for you in any way, shape or form. In any way. And now you're clogging up the courts when there could be people actually going to jail for actual fucking crimes, going, I want my money back. And no, you're a dickhead. You spent it on something fucking ridiculous. How stupid are you? You bought yourself a JPEG for $1.3 million. Like, I'm sorry. No, get out my courtroom. There was a story that my dad liked to tell about a motor racer. This is back in the 1950s or 60s, who took the constructors of his F1 car to court, and the judge said in the court, did you get in the car? Yes. Did you drive it at 170 miles an hour around the track? It's like, yeah. He said, get out my courtroom. Just get up. Anyway, SG, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. History lesson: when the middle class revolts, they turn Nazi. See Weimar era. That is a very good point, SG. And that is definitely something we need to avoid, but it also explains why so many middle class people are voting for refuck. And I know that refuck like to put themselves out there as like these, you know, they're the legends of the working class. They're not. They're absolutely not. There's only one of the 11 MPs that they have in Parliament right now. Only one who went to a state school. Yeah, they're not working class, mate. They're not. You know, horny-handed fucking sons of the soil. Horny-handed. One of my friends has gone and refucked himself. Oh God, I'm sorry. So sad. There's no hope via communication. He's lost his ears and just spouts hatred and frog-faced propaganda. They become verbal junkies. Yeah. I'm sorry, Ray. It's never fun to lose a friend like that. My old landlord is good. He initially had my floor-paying group council tax legally. He made alterations which changed the situation. Didn't realise for a while he paid the difference himself. Yeah, that sounds pretty decent. And you know what? Like when I go on about landlords and you know how it needs to be, it does need to be reformed. It absolutely does need to be reformed. And we have just set up this ticking time bomb. It's not even a time bomb. It's going off now, where there's not enough housing stock because old people have got 2 houses or 3 houses or 4 houses because they bought them in the 90s when they were only £17,000 to buy a semi-detached house. And now that same semi-detached house is worth $500,000, you know, and they've made all that money by doing nothing and put other people in there to pay off the 17,000 and then some. Yeah. What? I've gone back to Graham David Hughes. I have come full circle. Actually, I think when I started this channel, it was that Ginger Scouser. In fact, I think, if I type in youtube.com/that Ginger Scouser, right? No at, it comes up in my channel. Yes. So I still have a legacy link for that Ginger Scouser, all one word. The reason why I left what was it called? What's that? Hotmail, right? I left Hotmail in the early noughts, and the reason was they wouldn't let me have the word Scouse in my name on my. It wouldn't let me have Scouser. Sorry, it would let me have Scouse. It wouldn't let me have the name Scouser in my tag, it couldn't be, Graham the Scouser at hotmail.com. Does anybody know why it would not allow the word Scouser? There's a little quiz for you this morning, if anyone can suss it out for me. There was a reason. Anyway, so Alan Barker, a shibboleth is any custom or tradition, usually a choice of phrasing or single word that distinguishes one group of people from another. Historically, shibboleths have been used as passwords. Ooh. Is that like... So when I went to Georgia, right, and I was hanging out with Georgian people in Tbilisi, I was told that if you say Nostrovia, like cheers, with a whiskey or a vodka, that's fine. But if you say it with beer, that means you're Russian. And it was a way that they sussed out who was Russian and who wasn't Russian. This was in the wake of I don't know how long this tradition had been going on for, but this was in the wake of the Russian invasion of Georgia, in which in 2008, in which they took a third of Russian territory, Georgian land. I've had my Hotmail account since it started. I still have my Hotmail account. My subscription to Pop Bitch, which is now 24 years old. 24 years old. I've got Pop Bitch emails from 24 years. Jesus Christ. But there you go. Shibboleths were often used at Northern Ireland road stops. So there you go. Something to do with POTUS security? What? No. Nothing to do with POTUS. Someone else already had Scouser. Went, no, I couldn't have it in there, so it couldn't be Graham the Scouser or I'm a Scouser. I couldn't have the word Scouser in that particular. Oh, this is good. We should have this on lateral to Tom Scott, shouldn't we? So in 1999, Graham tried to change his Hotmail password, Hotmail name to Graham the Scouser. And it wouldn't let him. Why not? And everyone going, okay, was there some kind of racism towards Scousers, something? Yeah, so it's a good one. It's a good one. Anyway, someone else that's got, no, it wasn't that. Prediction time. Starmer will be gone by the end of the week, possibly even today, says DJ Marcy Moo. Okay, listen, right, I've got this thing and it comes up and it says, I was wrong and I take responsibility. I accept responsibility, okay? Me and my ex-girlfriend always used to laugh. We had a joke, we had a running joke. We'd have a cap that would have with I was wrong and I accept responsibility written on it. And whenever one of us was wrong about something, we'd have to wear the cap for the day. That's how that comes up. But if I'm wrong, I don't think that he's going to leave today. And I don't think he's going to leave this week. Okay? But we're going to have to see what happens in this cabinet meeting, obviously, right? The thing is, right, we talked about, where we are, right? We've got all these MPs, 72 of them at the last count, I think, saying that they think he should go one way or another. The big problem for Labour is this. Labour's rules make removing a leader rather difficult. Harder than getting rid of a Tory leader, by the way. So Tory MPs can anonymously submit letters to the 1922 committee, but Labour MPs must publicly organise around an actual challenger. And that creates hesitation because they may dislike Starmer. They may think he's doomed. They may want him gone, right? But they may not agree on who replaces him. And I think that's the current paralysis. So Labour rules require 20% of Labour MPs backing a challenger, right? So a challenger has to come forward and 20% of MPs have to back that challenger. Labour currently has 403 MPs. That means the 403 divided by 5 equals around 81, right? So around 81 MPs are needed. And 72 MPs criticising Starmer or saying that he should go is not the same as 81 MPs backing one challenger. And this is why, Catherine West, putting her head above the parapet first. Because don't forget, this happened last year with Anna Sanwar, the leader in Scotland, the Labour leader in Scotland. He said, I think Starmer should go. Who's with me? That was February, wasn't it? That was this year? Oh my God. It's been a long year. And he went, who's with me? And he turned around, no one was with him. Do you know what I mean? What have we got? Any ideas, Hooper? It was quiet last night when Diz announced it to a wider audience. Marcus has his All Shorts channel back up and running. Yes, he does. And I'm going to just, I'm going to just take you. Well, I'm not going to take you over there, but I'm going to give you the YouTube address. It is youtube.com @allshortspolitics. Okay. So if you want to go and say hello to our wonderful friend Marcus, who is an incredibly talented man. He's also funny as fuck, but he's an incredibly talented man. Much more talented than me, I've got to say, when it comes to knocking together pieces of wood. But yeah, that's great news for Marcus. So if you go over there, we'll still be here when you get back, but if you want to go over there, hit the subscribe button and come back here. That would be awesome. Hi all, have they announced the general election yet? No, I don't think it works that way. Yeah. So if someone crosses the threshold of having 81 MPs behind them, leadership contest is automatically triggered. Right, now, let's drill down into... this is one route, by the way. But let's drill down into some of the people who have said that Starmer should go. It includes people like Mary Foy, who is my MP here. Now, I know Mary. I could ring her if you want and ask her what she thinks, but I have a sneaking suspicion that she's not a massive fan of Wes Streeting, who is obviously has prime ministerial ambitions, as everyone, I think, can see. And I think a lot of the more left-wing Labour MPs who have been frustrated by Starmer for quite a while now for being what they saw as a bit of a red tie Tory, or at least a centralist, a bit too far over there, especially with the socially conservative parts of Labour policies. I mean, oh, by the way, they've taken out the any kind of reform of benefits. They're taking it out the King's Speech. That's interesting. But yeah, I can't see someone like Mary Foy rallying behind Wes Streeting. And this is the thing. You can go, well, 70 of them have said they want Starmer to go. Yeah, that's one thing. But getting them all 70 plus another 10 to rally around one candidate, I think, of the candidates who are available, I think that's going to be difficult. Nay, impossible. I'm going to call it. And if I'm wrong, I haven't got a cap that says I was wrong and accept responsibility, but I have got a pop-up, so I will use the pop-up accordingly. But no one currently has a united coalition. And so a lot of the MPs saying, fuck off Starmer, are not MPs who are going to rally behind Streeting, because Streeting is seen as to the right of the party. He's also tainted by the Mandelson scandal. And yeah, it's not looking good for him. Streeting is Labour Together's continuity candidate. That's why they're trying to move now before Burnham gets in. Yeah, and that's why I don't think Starmer should go right now. And it is just because Burnham isn't in a position to become leader. So yeah. Do we have any ideas on why Scouser wasn't allowed? Graham, as I said previously, those MP letters mean nothing without promoting a replacement. Rolling eyes. I hope you're not rolling the eyes at me. I've just said that. That's what I was just saying. Oh, your face. Saying it doesn't matter because they have to rally around one person, and they're not. A lot of them are left wing. They're not going to rally around the prominent right wing person who's got to run for it. The role of PM should be reassessed. The Swiss participatory system of direct democracy should be adopted. No overall prime minister required, but replaced by a 7-member federal council. Yeah, but David Faulkner, let's look at Switzerland because they're having a referendum on whether to stop foreigners coming into their country, which is going to fuck the Swiss economy like no one's ever fucked it in the history of the Swiss Federation. Yeah, this is happening. They want to cap the population. I don't know how they're going to achieve this when they are a member of Schengen. It's going to create huge problems with the EU. It's going to create huge problems with goods in and out of the country, people in and out of the country, a huge number of workers. I think it's something like 30% of workers in Switzerland are not from Switzerland. But they're having a referendum on it. And it looks like it's going to be 52-48 in favour of literally closing the borders of Switzerland. So yeah, no one's got a perfect system. And I think that looking at one system going, that worked a bit better, is one thing for one particular place and one particular place in time, according to its geography. I would prefer to see, I don't mind having a prime minister. I quite like having a prime minister, cards on the table. I like the fact that we can get rid of Starmer if we think he's a bit shit halfway through his term. You can't do that in America with the president. They stay there forever. I have no problem with that part of the system. I have a problem with the House of Lords blocking legislation like the assisted dying bill. I have a problem with having a monarchy, because it just entrenches deference. But apart from that, as long as the monarch doesn't actually veto anything that the parliament wants to do, like the American president does all the fucking time if the parliament over there is against him because it's a majority Democrat parliament and he's a Congress and he's a Republican, then he's going to pocket veto it. He's just going to either not sign it or just send it straight back, and then you need a fucking overwhelming majority in the Senate, which you're never going to get, in order to say, no, fuck off, we're going to override your veto, mate. I mean, come on. That's not a great system. And I'm not saying like we've got a good system because it's better than America's, which it is, but I mean, there are other ideas that we can take on board. I want to see proportional representation. I want to see ranked voting, so that you can vote number 1 for the Greens and then reluctantly number 2 for Labour if you, and then your vote isn't wasted. And it will end this splitting of the left-wing vote amongst different parties. But yeah, the other thing that could happen, so here's our second scenario. So the first scenario is 81 Labour MPs rally around a contender. I can't see that happening. Maybe it will. I mean, because I think that the people who would maybe rally around Wes Streeting are not the people who have come out against Starmer, because they're generally in the same camp. As I was pointed out in the chat, they're all like Labour Together type people. Oh, I tell you what I've got for you. I forgot to put the super chat goal on. I'm so excited about all the exciting things happening in Parliament at the moment. I'm just like, well, but we will have confetti. We'll have a parrot and a pirate flag. There you go. We will have confetti. If you get 5 more super chats in of any colour. How would PR work for the constituency MP vote? So ask Sammy Jane. There's a few ways of doing it. You can have lists like they have in Scotland. In Wales, they've got their party lists as well as directly elected MPs, MSPs, or members of the Senate. Also, there are ways of tying MPs to a particular region. So, for instance, Liverpool, right? It's got 4, or let's say 5 MPs in Liverpool, right? So there's 5 MPs in Liverpool. To give an example, I know it wouldn't work like this everywhere, but there's 5 MPs, right? Those MPs, those seats are allocated based on the votes of everyone in Liverpool, right? And based on the proportion of the vote. So if you get 20% of the vote, you get 1 MP, right? So you might end up in a situation where you get 1 Labour, or maybe 2 Labour MPs, and then, because it's the next one down after that. So you might get 2 Labour MPs, you might get 1 refucker, you might get a Green, you might get a Lib Dem, right? And then you can be represented by any of those 5. So if you voted for the Greens, if you've got a problem, vote right to your Green MP, because you've got a Green MP, as well as and if you're a refucker, you can write to your refuck MP. So you're not being represented by someone who you don't feel represents you, because you don't share the same values. A refucker's not going to want to write to a Labour MP because they don't share the same values. Like a refucker wants to kill everyone who doesn't look the same as them, which is unfortunate because refuckers are dead ugly. So they basically want to do what they did in Bolivia back in the day, which is not a good idea. They took all the lookers and put them on the top of a mountain and let them die. Sacrifice them to the gods. It's not good for the gene pool, mate. I'm just saying it's not good for the gene pool. That's exactly what the fuckers want to do. They want to destroy the middle class and take out anyone who's moderately attractive, of a nice person. And obviously being a nice person comes out in your looks, I like to believe. So yeah, that's another way of doing it. But we could properly get into that and workshop it and go, here's the best way of doing it. But yeah, I do think that there is a way of maintaining the link to your constituency or to an area, be it a city or a county or whatever, and also maintaining the link with PR. And you think about this, we do this all the time with councillors. Like, it's not like when there's a councillor elected in a particular ward, say Knotty Ash in Liverpool, right? So Knotty Ash, you're the sausage knotter of Knotty Ash, and you're voted in as a councillor. You're not going to just make rules and things just for your own ends. And plus, we often have, and I know usually it goes 1-2 to one party, but we have council elections like we had last week, in which you can vote for 2 or even 3 or maybe even 4 councillors on the same ballot, right? So it's just like, you put 3 X's, right? 3 little kisses next to the party that you want. But in a proportional representation system where you have a list voting, so for those people who are represented by that particular councillor in that particular ward, a councillor who's not just going to be looking after that ward, they're going to be voting on stuff for the entire city or the town or even the county. If it's a county council, it's not just going to be like, oh, well, I can only look after my ward. But you've got options of which councillor to talk to. You've got 3 of them in your area, 3 people representing you, and maybe 2 of them are refuck and 1 of them's Labour. And you'll be like, well, I'll go with the fucking Labour one then, I guess, because any port in the storm. So yeah, look, I don't want to get too bogged down in this, but there are ways of, they had the D'Hondt system in Scotland. We also had the D'Hondt system for MEPs when we were a member of the European Union. When we had a vote, when we had a say, when we had a seat at the table. When we were powerful and sovereign. Now we're just begging for scraps from the Yanks. How embarrassing. But it's what the Gam-Gams voted for, and it's what they've got. If someone has in the cabinet has to take over, it needs to be Ed Miliband, said DJ Marcy Moon. Does Andy Burnham want to rejoin the EU urgently? That's Andrew Ray. Is it maybe later? Not another round of musical PM chair chairs Labour this time. Yeah, I get that. I don't think he wants to join the EU urgently, but he is. I mean, he always was a pro-European, and he will continue on with what Labour are doing, which is putting us into a position where we have customs union rules with the EU. We have ways into the single market. We have particular things like, in particular, pharmaceuticals. You get pharmaceutical access to the single market. The reason why it's so important that we get pharmaceutical access to the single market, I'll just explain this very quickly, is because you have to test the medicine, any medicine, that new medicine needs to be tested in the batches of medicine. So even if a medicine's been proven to be okay, you still have to test batches of it when you send out pills from that are being made in Macclesfield. If you're sending them to the EU, they have to be tested on EU soil. So obviously they get tested at the facilities in Macclesfield, but then in AstraZeneca. But then when they get to the EU, they've got to be tested again. And that is costing the pharmaceutical industry, which is one of our biggest industries, one of our biggest physical industries. Obviously, a lot of our economy is based on the service economy, which, there's another thing. Like the service economy, that wasn't even ruled by, that was something that we kind of had a bit of a free reign on, even when we were part of the EU. We gave a fuck. But it was physical things that people might buy in a shop or get prescribed by a doctor that they might take and might kill them. Obviously, there's rules there. If we get a carve out into the single market for particular industries like farming and pharmaceuticals, it means that the charges that those the extra non-tariff charges will come right down. And so you think about it this way, we trying to get us back into the EU properly. You look at how the papers react, and even a mention and even a suggestion that we could, go back into Horizon or go back into Erasmus, or maybe start allowing kids to Eurorail once again. I think that's kind of crazy. I mean, that's kind of like, yeah. The amount of bad will that would be generated by Farage, is billionaire backers, toxic fucking foreign-based billionaire backers, money launderers for the Russians. The amount of stuff that they can just swamp the internet with. There's no guardrails on the internet. They'll just tell lies. And it could end up blowing up in our faces if we try and go into the EU too fast. I want to see a piecemeal return to the EU. And I think my credentials as someone who likes the EU are kind of unimpeachable, because I was quite forefront in the whole Remain movement, except for the fact that I wasn't incredibly posh. I wasn't allowed to lead it or nothing. God, imagine that. But I'm just saying, I was the MC at one of the first big fucking marches down in London in 2017. The People's March, was it called? Was it the People's March or something? People's March back into Europe. But yeah, I digress. I think that the Labour policy at the moment, I agree with them not saying anything about it during the election. I think they're in that. They didn't want to open up that wound, which is understandable. I did not agree with the red lines. I think that was a stupid thing to say. I think that if I was in charge, I would always say anything's on the table. Anything's on the table. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Trump might invade Iran and make our energy bills go through the roof. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So let's hope for the best, prepare for the worst. So yeah. A government minister has resigned. Matata Farnborough, junior minister, has just resigned. She became an MP in 2024. So this is a bold move from a relatively new MP. And she's a close ally of Ed Miliband. She's not calling for the Prime Minister to go immediately. She's urging him to set a timetable for an orderly transition so a new team can deliver the change he promised for the country. Depending on how long that theoretical timetable is, it could allow time for Andy Burnham, the Greater Manchester Mayor, to find a seat and return to Parliament as a Labour MP, which I think is what Phil wants. I would like him to see out his term as Mayor, and for Starmer, because the hatred isn't towards Labour, it's towards Starmer. So once you get rid of Starmer, psychologically speaking, you can start again with a new team. It's not Starmer's Labour, completely different party now. One of the main headaches for Starmer is Brexit, says Maggie Pat. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to see this piecemeal. No, I said I didn't like the red lines; they were stupid. But having these meetings, so they were going to have these meetings, these UK EU summits. They were going to happen once every 5 years under the previous Tory administration, but now they happen every year. There's one coming up soon, and at this EU UK summit, they're going to talk about closer ties, and eventually we'll have sectors, farming, hopefully pharmaceuticals, pharma something, getting into the single market, and eventually it'll become a situation where all these other companies, all these other sectors, are asking for access to the single market, and it will create a bit of a snowball effect, and eventually all of our industries and non-service industries will be part of the single market, pretty much, almost, kind of, nearly. And then once we get back into there, it's like, oh, well, we should really be in a customs union, which should probably happen in tandem with that. And then once you're in the customs union, once you're pretty much all the way into a single market, oh, well, that's the point where we hang on. We're a rule taker, but not a rule maker. Oh, don't like the sound of that. Why don't we rejoin the EU so we get a seat at the table? Or seats in Parliament, in the European Parliament, in Brussels and Strasbourg. Let's fucking do it. Yeah. Well, it's at the start of the flood, Graham. I don't know. She's quite a junior minister. I think that and I could be wrong, and if I am, I'll pick up the thing and said I was wrong. I think that there's people who don't like West Streeting, and I think that Streeting is pushing for Starmer to go now because there'll be no competition from Andy Burnham if he goes now. And then there are people who do not want that. So this is Miata Farnbuller's resignation letter. I'll read it to you. Dear Prime Minister, I'm writing to tender my resignation as Minister for Devolution, Faith and Communities. Devolution, that's a weird three things to put together. Devolution, so more rights for Wales, Scotland, Northern England, the Southwest. Faith and communities. What's faith doing in that? Okay, communities. I get that. Faith? What? A minister for faith? Got to have faith, as what's his name? George Michael once sang. I am proud of the work I've done in this government. First as minister for blah 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 blah. It's been a privilege to blah blah blah. While progress has been made, we have not acted with vision, pace, or ambition that our mandate for change demands of us. Nor have we governed as a Labour Party. Clear about our values and strong in our convictions. I agree with that. Mistakes such as the winter fuel payment and cuts to support provided to disabled people have left far too many of my constituents doubting our mission. Our country faces enormous challenges and people are crying out for the scale of the changes it requires. The public does not believe you can lead this change, and nor do I. I have to agree. I think Starmer should go. I think Starmer should go, but not right now. That's going to be my take on it. He might do. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, that's the latest there. So coming on to this, the second scenario. So you got the first scenario of 81 MPs rallying around a potential challenger, and then they have to have a vote. And Starmer will be automatically on that ballot. And Starmer is the reason why the majority of those MPs that are in Labour right now have a seat in the first place. So they may be reluctant to vote for someone who they think will be even more divisive, like, I don't know, West Streeting. And that's one of the ways it could happen. The other one is a cabinet collapse. So this is the Boris Johnson scenario. Boris Johnson didn't really lose because of one scandal. He lost because his ministers concluded the government cannot function anymore. And once resignations became contagious, his authority vanished and survival became impossible because the government machinery froze. He couldn't appoint people to posts in his cabinet fast enough. Cabinet splits are now public in Labour, and Mahmood wants a timetable. Our Home Secretary wants a timetable, and Yvette Cooper also wants transition planning, and Lammy and Healy are discussing a responsible exit. And if several senior ministers resign together today, Starmer probably will have to stand down. That is the scenario. That it just depends on how strong his cabinet is and how much they understand that having a leadership contest right now hands a huge win to Nigel Farage, because he can then bray like a twat about how he got rid of Starmer through the local elections. Starmer has told ministers that the leadership challenge has not been triggered. He told the cabinet, as I said yesterday, I take responsibility for these election results and responsibility for delivering the change we promised. The past 48 hours have been destabilising for government that has a real economic cost for our country and our families. The Labour Party has a process for challenging a leader that has not been triggered. The country expects us to get on with governing. That's what I'm doing and what we must do as a cabinet. Ooh. So yeah, exciting stuff. Yeah, so Starmer's sticking to his guns, as Max has just written. He says he's going nowhere. Breaking news. If the Home Secretary resigns, if the Foreign Secretary resigns, if the Treasury figures start to wobble, then the markets would react immediately. The bond markets, and this is what really forces out MPs, it's PMs. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily, if they've won an election, a general election, and they're in charge. It's usually the way the markets respond to what they've done. Not necessarily the riots in Kent that were triggered by the poll tax under Margaret Thatcher, it took a few months to remove May. An orderly plan is needed. I think streeting is snookered, which is good. Cannot have a Kamala style coronation. Yeah, absolutely. I think Starmer should stay and finish as a one-term PM and then have a straightforward leadership contest for the next general election. Yeah, I'm minded for that, but I think things are going to come to a head sooner rather than later. You're probably looking about September. Allow for the summer for a by-election to take place, for someone to stand down in a very safe Labour seat, and for Andy Burnham to take that seat and become party leader, and therefore become Prime Minister in time for the Labour Party conference in September in Liverpool, which would be right, because if it is, I know he's a Wall, but we'll take him. Andy Burnham, Scouse Wool. He's from St Helens, isn't he? Which is a bit out of Liverpool, so. We call them woolly backs. That's just what we call them. People from over the water, we call them Plazzy Scousers. And then for people who over in St Helens and stuff, Southport, they're wolves. And then the people down in Cheshire, they're bad wolves. We don't like them. We don't like those Tory voting cants. If you're watching this from Cheshire, hi. Even if it's just Starmer alone in number 10 by the end of the week, he'll still come out saying the message is clear and the public want me to remain, but go further and faster. Shred, I really doubt that. If his whole cabinet fucking resigned, then he can't stay on. But Labour MPs, let's talk about the economy, right? Bonds. Well, gilt yields, as the spiking of gilt yields, which is interest on bonds, on government bonds, will if that happens, if they spike, you'll get comparisons with Liz Truss, Labour chaos headlines, and they look incapable of governing or managing an economy. And also, there's another way that he could be gotten rid of, which I think is probably going to be more likely than not, right? And this is private pressure. Historically, this is often how British PMs actually go. Thatcher came out fighting against having a vote of no confidence brought against her, and in the end she just went, oh fuck it, and just decided to leave because the men in grey suits came in and said, you can't survive this, get out now. And this is politically cleaner than a public bloodbath or a leadership contest or televised humiliation. And Labour grandees would probably prefer an orderly exit, an agreed timetable, and managed transition. This is what Mahmood and Cooper are talking about. The problem with this is two things. First of all, Starmer looks determined to fight, which of course I suppose he has to say that, doesn't he? But also, no, if they do put a timetable in, then it becomes absolutely concrete that he's a lame duck. He's a lame duck leader. Yesterday's speech was basically, I'm staying, deal with it. But once cabinet ministers stop defending you publicly, the writing's on the wall, you know. And then there's the digging in. This is another scenario. Starmer could just say "fuck yous all" and dig in. There is a precedent for this. There was a man, I've forgotten his name, but he was in charge of Labour, God, years ago. He was the guy before Starmer. Can't remember his name. And he set an important historical precedent because he survived mass resignations, a parliamentary no confidence vote, a media that absolutely fucking hated him, internal sabotage. How could he survive all that? Well, because Labour rules protect leaders heavily, a lot heavier than they're protected under the Tories. Starmer could theoretically refuse to resign, dare MPs to challenge him, replace disloyal ministers, and continue governing. The problem with that is the bonds, the government yields, the government's, guilt, the gilts. And the risk there is obviously permanent paralysis, and every interview becomes, when are you going to resign? And every PMQs would be like, how many MPs have turned against him now? And every policy announcement is going to be overshadowed by succession chatter. But I mean, governments can survive this. Leaders, especially in Labour, can survive this. There has already been a precedent set in which a leader of Labour was really unpopular amongst his own MPs, and yet clung on to power. A leader who lost a general election against Theresa May, lost an EU election, lost councillors at nearly every single local government election in his tenure in office, and also lost a referendum on whether he should stay in the EU or not. A guy who sacked his own ministers for defying his 3-line whip to vote with the Tory government to enact parts of the Tory government's Tory agenda, the Tory flagship agenda, to make us all, people who aren't already rich, poorer, and to limit our horizons and make it so that young people in this country can no longer live and work anywhere they want in our own continent. He stayed on though, didn't he? So it's funny how some of the people who were, quite fond of the old guy, whatever his name was, the same people now going, he's got to go. He's not popular amongst his own MPs. He's got to go. He's 10 years ago, they'd be going, disloyalty in the ranks, won't stand for it. It's funny how people's opinions change, like the fucking weather. Anyway, did anyone get my quiz question about why they wouldn't allow Scouser in your username as part of your username in Hotmail? Did anyone actually give? I don't know if I looked at the. I can't, do you know what? I can only go back so far in my chat. I hate this. It cuts off earlier chat. Like, I'm sorry. I'm streaming at 4K. The amount of info that is coming at the internet now and being stuck on some god-awful server on Google somewhere under the sea or on top of a mountain or something, it is ridiculous. And yet they can't have enough memory to hold all the messages, literally text, that you lot are sending me. Okay, whatever. Anyway, I'm just looking to see if anyone's got any reasons why Scouser would not be. Let's do a search. Scouser. They thought Scouser was derogatory. Someone else said, is Scouser an insult in a different language? No, it's not. Oh, no, we've got one. We've got that. We've got UAPUAT, Uaput, I think. Scouser contains the word user. That is why. Oversensitivity to drug use. No. At one time, you couldn't say you come from Scunthorpe because it contained the word. No, it's not to do with drug use. It's to do with, I think when Hotmail was first being set up, they used a generic code for people, which would be user and then a number or something like that. So they stopped you putting the word user in any point of your Hotmail account name. So you couldn't have it. You could have it on Yahoo, you could have it on Gmail, but you couldn't have it on Hotmail because of the way it was set up. You couldn't have the word user. Well done, UA Put. You got it completely right, so you win the award. I don't know what the award is. You can have some confetti. Here you go. Yay! You got the quiz question right. And there you go. So now you know. Don't put the word user in your Hotmail account. Maybe they've changed that now and you can, but I don't know. Does Andy Burnham want to join the... I've read that one. I've read that one. Where are we? So look at that. Early confetti, which is nice. Andrew, technically Parliament is in recess. It is. Until tomorrow. When we have the state opening of Parliament or the King's Speech or whatever. On Scouser, I have a hypothesis that is too similar to SCOTUS. That's not it. But thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Miss Paula Thomas. That is very kind of you. Well, it wasn't anything political. Nothing political. It was just, it's almost the same reason why there was no Windows 9. Because don't forget, the Hotmail, HTML mail, was bought by Microsoft back in the day. Like 1999 or something. And also, so the reason why it went from Windows 8 to Windows 10 is not just because Bill Gates can't count. It's because in the coding stuff for a long time, you had Windows 9X, which would be referring to Windows 95 or Windows 98. So they were worried about old code getting confused between Windows 9 and Windows 95, Windows 98, or Windows 9X. And that's why there was no Windows 9. It was to stop things getting mixed up. And that's why they wouldn't allow the word user in Hotmail. I don't care whether Starmer stays or goes. Phil's ferocious defence of streeting yesterday has convinced me the war on trans people is Labour, not its figureheads. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Gallifreyan man. I tried to point out that like he's clearly gone down that route, and he's met with like famous TERFs and sat down with them to discuss the future of trans people without any trans people in the fucking room. I mean, you know, I don't know how you felt, because whenever me and Phil have a Barney about something, everyone in the chat, not everyone, but a lot of people in the chat are like, you're a twat, Graham. Hey, Phil, you're a gobshite. And I'm like, that's really not helpful. But and then people are moaning about me talking over Phil. Have you heard Phil talk? He's got his own channel. It's fine. You can listen to him all fucking day. No one's going to interrupt him. He's got his own channel, right? When he's on here, if I let him talk, he will talk non-stop for half an hour, and I won't get any word in. I won't get to ask him any questions. We won't change the topic of discussion. And Phil's a good mate of mine. It's not like we're going to fall out about it. It's just like, yeah, sometimes I do have to talk over him because otherwise I just can't get a word in edgeways. And it's the same with the Friday night or Sunday night social. I mean, a lot of people on our show have got ADHD and they will not shut up. I've got ADHD as well. It's fine. I know what it's like. If someone interrupts me and I'm trying to make a point, you know, it's a bit annoying if you're telling a joke and then someone interrupts your punchline of the joke because the secret of great comedy is timing. I just calm down, Graham. Anyway, ADHD versus autism fight, says it is a bit like that. It is a bit. We're both diagnosed. We're both proper paid up, fully members of the. I'm the ADHD club. He's the autism club. But yeah, the way you looked to the camera, Graham. What? The way you looked to the camera. But yeah, I think Phil is completely wrong about Wes Streeting. I think Wes Streeting had not got any kind of coverage of his convictions. I think when he was having a go at that horrible turfy woman, Rosie Duffield, it was because he just didn't like her. And that was an easy way of getting to her, because he just didn't like her, because she's quite an obnoxious person. But yeah, I've got no love for Wes Streeting. I don't think he comes across very well. And he's got the same problem as Starmer has, actually. He's not personable. He's one of those people that you feel there's a barrier between you and them. They're not someone that you could really ever get to know. And I hate Trump. I hate Farage. I hate Boris Johnson, but they come across to the people who like them as personable. They come across as approachable, someone you can go up to and throw a milkshake over if it's Nigel Farage. But no, I mean, seriously, they come across as someone who will come into the pub and say, hey, the drinks are on me, and, you know, have a chat and go, hey, and get excited about football and stuff. Starmer, and Wes Streeting, there just appears to be like this invisible barrier where you could never, ever get to know them. And that's okay if you're a fucking royal. But if you are an MP or a prime minister in the age of social media, you've got to come across as someone who's one of the lads, almost, unfortunately, or one of the gals. Yeah, when you were with Phil yesterday, my funny expression to the camera. When we have autism, and I can say this. We tend to go on a rant. Lol. He is wrong on streeting. He is very against LGBTQIA groups. Yeah, Hidden Night, which is mad because he's gay. But then again, there is a lot of misogyny and now I guess transphobia within the gay community. I know I've met people who are gay and like quite conservative, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you? But yeah. The idiocy of battling the trans community was ridiculous. Trying to out-reform reforms to squeeze a vote or two from idiots, that will never change. Yeah, I know. Well, at least Phil concedes on that point. Like, going after the trans community is the stupidest thing that Labour have done. And they've done a bunch of stupid things because it doesn't win them a single vote. Like, no one is voting for them because they're like, oh, I'm a TERF, I'm going to vote for Labour. TERFs are going to vote for the Nazis. They're going to vote for eugenics. They're going to vote to ban abortions and make women wear fucking stupid hats. That's what hoods. That's what they're going to vote for. Of course, they're not going to vote for fucking Labour. They're going to TERF. Going to vote for Labour. Fuck that shit. What social progress? Right to minorities. Oh, I don't want that. No, fuck them. So all you're doing is losing votes. All you're doing, you're transphobic, you're a politician on the left, all you're doing is losing votes. That's it. And as Zach Polanski, who is very much like pro trans rights and comes out and says, I am a trans ally, loud and proud, they get loads of votes. People go, yeah, all right, yeah. They've not lost any votes by him saying that. Not lost a single fucking vote. They've won loads of votes by saying that. Because it's very difficult, I guess, to be a bigot and vote for the Greens at the same time. It's a bit cognitive dissonance that doesn't usually occur on this side of the political spectrum. Of course, it happens on the other side all the fucking time. Guy with a View says, West Streeting has the charm of a viper. Labour needs a leader who really understands poverty in the white working class. That is not streeting. Yeah. Well, it's arguably Andy Burnham. You know, I quite like Andy Burnham. Phil doesn't really like him very much, but he agrees that he's the best person to take Labour into the next election. Actually, just lead the country. Christian gay, that's like the MAGA gays. Yeah. Then again, I mean, you know, Jesus on the cross, I mean, he's half naked, isn't he? He's just wearing a loincloth. You can see why, men, young boys, sort of, teenagers sitting in church pews for the whole of the service, got nothing to look at, bored shitless, and there's a half-naked man. Oh, just saying. And Jesus never fat, is he? You never see fat Jesus. You never see, like, Jesus that kind of reflects what most middle-aged men look like. Like myself. He's always this toned, bronze, skinny rip, isn't he? Yeah. Usually with fucking pecs as well. He works out. And, working hard at the old carpentry lark. I don't like Zach personally, but him saying that about being trans ally was a green boost for the Greens. Which is why I voted for Greens last year in May. Yeah, I know. It's a huge boost. Like, I've got so many people who are, I know a lot of people who are trans, but also, like, I know an even bigger number of people who are trans allies who are horrified at the way that their trans sisters and brothers are being treated by the wider community, by the media, by the dickhead likes of Nick Ferrari and his gotcha questions. So, what's a woman? Or that fucking Penis Morgan guy. What's a define a woman? What is a woman? What is a bird? What is a fish? Go on. Fucking define it. What's the sky? Go on, define the sky for me. Well, it's up there, it's blue. Well, it's not blue at night time, innit? Well, it's, go on, define the fucking, define this, fuck off with your define shit. People walking around like the Oxford English Dictionary or something. I'm going to give you the Oxford English Dictionary definition of this thing. But here's the thing, as I keep trying to explain on these shows, definitions don't necessarily, what you think a word means might not be what someone else thinks it means. And to try and classify, 4 billion people into one fucking thing. And just go, right, this is a woman. Okay, well, they've got to have a uterus. Well, what if you've had, what if you had a hysterectomy? Okay, they've got to have boobs. What if they had a mastectomy? Oh, they just haven't grown boobs. They've got to be assigned a woman at birth. Yeah, but doctors make mistakes. There's more trans men than trans women. Do you know why that is? Because at birth, if the gender of the child is not particularly obvious, the doctors can do a little bit of a surgical procedure on the baby and make the baby a girl. And say, right, it's a girl. Even though that baby has a male brain. Crazy. It was all that intermittent fasting that kept JC so spry. Yeah, he went into the desert for 40 days, didn't he? Which is pretty cool. It's like Survivor, man, isn't he? I'm gonna survive 40 days in the desert. Yeah. Don't know why I went Australian then. Australian Jesus. Fucking hell. Struth, mate. They strung me up, you bastards. Such is life. Anyway, let's talk about Burnham for a moment. Andy Burnham is probably Labour's strongest communicator. He's associated with regional politics rather than Westminster dysfunction. He is not tainted by the dysfunction of the current Labour crop. You see, there's more emotionally intelligent than Starmer, and that's a big plus. That is a big plus. He comes across as approachable. He comes across as someone that you can just have a chat with. He's also viewed as someone capable of reconnecting with working class voters in the way that Starmer can't. Like, Starmer can stand up yesterday and say, I grew up in a working class household. He doesn't sound like it. He doesn't look like it. He didn't have the career trajectory of someone who did. And Andy Burnham is less robotic. And it's all very well knowing the law and being intelligent in that way. You've got to have a bit of riz. And he polls well. He polls well because people think he sounds like a human being rather than a robot from a science fiction program from the 70s. I am a robot. I do not feel human emotions. Now I know why you cry, but it is something I can never do. He's also avoided being directly tied to austerity-era Labour, the austerity light, whatever you want to call it, the factionalism within Westminster. He seems to be apart from that. He probably isn't, but he seems to be. It's all about public perception politics, obviously. He's not directly tied to current government failures, the 15 U-turns of Starmer. And Burnham has positioned himself as a patriot without culture war hysteria, socially democratic without sounding archaic, and, pro-devolution, anti-London bubble, king of the north. But the huge problem for him is he's not an MP. He's not a lord. And that's an enormous obstacle. To become Labour leader and PM, he would realistically need MP to resign, a by-election. He needs approval from the NEC. He needs a selection victory. And then he needs a by-election victory. There you go. All while Labour is imploding publicly. And Starmer allies may try blocking him through the NEC. And that's why Burnham supporters want a slow transition. Any MP who's saying now we need a timetable is supporting Burnham. That's why they're saying they need a timetable. Not that he should go, but that he should set out a timetable. Because this whole process is going to take months, not days, not weeks, months. And this is why you're hearing orderly transition a lot. This is about buying Burnham time. But West Streeting camps do not want that. They want an immediate contest. They want a rapid succession, a compressed timeline, because then Burnham can't get into Parliament quickly enough, and that gives Streeting the advantage. He's already in Cabinet. He's already an MP with a high media profile. His infrastructure in Westminster is already built. But he carries some fucking heavy political baggage. He is tainted by the stink of the current government, well and truly. He is not particularly well liked by the population. He's not particularly popular. I think he is going to. I don't think he's going to do well at all. If he did get made leader, I think he'll be out before the next the next election, because he's going to be even more unpopular than Starmer. I'll tell you that now. Wes Streeting, there is no way he is going to get more people on side, because he's not personable. The very things I've just criticised Starmer for, I can criticise for Wes Streeting as well. And then you got Angela Rayner, and she remains dangerous politically because she has massive activist support. She's got the union connections, she's got the northern identity. She has got the authentic working class image that no one else really has. She terrifies sections of Labour MPs, though, and she does divide the party sharply. And she attracts relentless media hostility. And there's also going to be lingering controversy around tax issues, personal attacks, factional distrust. And she could split anti-Starmer votes rather than consolidating them. And then tomorrow is the King's speech, which adds some complexity to all this. Or should I say complications. The King may deliver a legislative programme drafted by a Prime Minister who could be politically doomed on his way out. So imagine Starmer announces his departure timetable, King's speech happens anyway, and the successor immediately bins half the agenda. It would make the government look unstable, and it would give the optics of kind of last day of Rome a little bit. But the other thing that Labour MPs are very mindful of at the moment is the effect on the market. So a lot of MPs are obsessing over the markets right now because they watched Liz Truss explode in real time. And if gilt yields rise sharply and the pound falls, borrowing costs spike, then panic will accelerate from within Labour, and they fear becoming the party of instability, which is ridiculous because they have over 400 fucking MPs. There's no reason for any of this to happen. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. It's like watching your nan try and type a text message. And you're just like, can I do... Especially if you've got ADHD. My fellow ADHDers out there know what I mean. Starmer is a lawyer. Would you invite lawyers to your birthday party or barbecues? No. I don't know. I mean, I like Burnham, but I feel we need a female PM for Labour. If the Tories can have female leaders, why not Labour or hell the Greens? Hidden Night, all things being equal, yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. It is well beyond time for Labour to have a woman leader. But with the way that politics is right now, I don't think it would be a good idea. And I hate that. In the same way that you saw what happened in America when Hillary Clinton ran and against the most horrible man in existence, and she lost. And we saw Kamala Harris do the same thing 8 years later. I can't go through that again. Do you know what I mean? If Labour had played their cards right and not made all these fucking stupid schoolboy errors, easy mistakes, and missed all these fucking open goals and scored a bunch of own goals, I would be like, yeah, let's have a woman leader in. That'd be great. But I think where we are right now as a country and where Labour are as a party, it's not that I don't want to have a female prime minister for Labour. I think that'd be fucking fantastic. But politically, electorally, I don't think it's viable right now, and I hate that. I fucking hate that. But this is the world in which we live, unfortunately, and you're pissed with the dick you got. Captain Coconut, this Starmer thing is allowing the MSM to avoid asking the questions about that £5 million gift. Strange how Fromage's girlfriend suddenly found the £800,000 to buy that house soon after. Yeah, it's funny that. Maybe she needed it for her security. Streeting was unpopular in his constituency even before Labour got into power, so I can't see him being a wise choice for PM. Yeah, he only won by 500 votes in the last election. I mean, he's in a marginal. He's in a fucking marginal. Well, Hillary and Harris, that was disgusting. You're right. And if things were different, yeah, it would be amazing. Yeah. But I don't think we're there yet. And the Tories can do it. But I just don't think Labour can. I just don't. I think that there is a eternal problem with Labour, which is that you're always going to have the brutal reality of ruling, of governing, of being in power, and the things that you have to do to remain in power are usually quite fucking grim, with the morality that a lot of Labour MPs have. Now, Tory MPs, refuck MPs, they don't have any morality at all. They don't give a fuck. They'll do whatever needs to be done. Whereas a lot of Labour people are just, oh, this is why I got into politics. Anyway, so so yeah, if Starmer stays, well, the best case scenario is the rebellion sort of fizzles out, the cabinet stabilises, and the government refocuses on what needs to be done. Economic conditions improve. Can't really see that with what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, though. Support for refuck remains sort of plateaued. It's kind of reached. It hit its high watermark last year. It's actually come down, and that's a deeper issue. Not the deeper issue in all this is many Labour MPs, dozens of them, no longer believe voters will listen to Starmer or vote for Starmer. And this is what obviously we've been talking about over and over again on this channel. Is it all comes down to communication, isn't it? Not ideology, not policy, just fucking communication. Their comms are fucking shit. And MPs increasingly think that voters have just emotionally switched off from Labour because there's no emotional connection, and people vote from their hearts. And it's interesting when we have these debates with Phil, and people are like, Phil's thinking with his brain and Graham's thinking with his heart, and I'm like, well, it's not like I'm fucking brainless. I know how things work. It's just my empathy for how other people feel extends beyond looking at a poll or something and going, oh, this is how people feel. It's beyond that. I unfortunately for me, I have empathy for fucking twats. I understand why they do what they fucking do. I don't like it, but I fucking understand it. And that's why when I go, I can't get any emotional connection whatsoever to Starmer or the current crop of people around him. The Ed Miliband, yeah, I think he's a bit personable. He seems all right. I've met him. He's all right. I've met him with Stream, for fuck's sake. I mean, and Darren Jones, he's all right, and others. But I mean, that emotional connection is so important when it comes to politics because most people don't vote with their brains. If people voted with their brains, would anyone vote for Boris Johnson? No. Would anyone vote for Donald Trump if they were voting with their brains? No. And it doesn't mean they don't have a brain. I mean, it might be tiny and smooth, but they do have a brain. But it's because the vast majority of people vote with their heart. They vote with how they feel. And that can change. And one of the silver linings for Labour in all this is that this vitriol that we've seen against Starmer, which I find a little bit too much, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't think he's been a particularly great prime minister. I think he looks like a rabbit in headlights. I don't think he's very personable. I don't think he's very good at delivering speeches. I don't think he's very good at getting people on board. I've disagreed with a lot of the policies, which thankfully nearly all of the policies that I have disagreed with, they have actually U-turned on, so that's good. But generally speaking, I don't hate him. I don't sit here going, oh, fucking Starmer, the bastard! Ah! Now, I've got to admit, the previous guy whose name I forget, I actually fucking genuinely hated him because he was standing in the way of us stopping Brexit. More than any other human being on the planet at the time. And for me, that was absolutely inexcusable. And so I can completely relate to people, especially in the trans community, who really viscerally hate Starmer. I get that. And I get people who were very pro-EU who hated the last guy. I get it, right? But when it comes to people who don't have skin in the game when it comes to being a trans ally or whatever, the vitriol towards Starmer is quite stunning. I mean, it is off the fucking charts. This is the guy who's responsible for Brexit, for austerity, for the response to COVID, for Liz Truss's mini budget, and it's just one of those, I guess, let me just, I did just mention the Trust mini budget, and what I'm going to do from now on, whenever I mention the Liz Truss mini budget, I'm going to bring up the Daily Mail. I'm going to bring that up. That's my little thing there. I'm going to bring it up and say, look, that's what the Daily Mail thought of it. But yeah, the level of hatred amongst all walks of life against Starmer is off the charts. But the silver lining to this is that's not against Labour. That's against Starmer. Labour will survive. Labour will survive this. And it's, people say, it's the end of two-party politics. Well, they might be, but it's not the end of Labour. They're not going to disappear. They're not going to go into the good night. They're too entrenched in society. And the question I asked Phil yesterday when we were talking about, the Greens and Labour, so the policy positions of the Greens and the policy positions of Labour, there's a cigarette paper between them. They're hardly different at all. Dislike Starmer, hate Johnson. Yeah. People who had loved ones who died during COVID whilst Johnson was having a fucking house party every other week. I can completely understand why they absolutely have that visceral hatred for Johnson. People who saw their mortgage rate, their interest on their mortgage just go up from 1.5% to 6.5% overnight because of this Truss. I can see why they hate her. I can see why they absolutely fucking hate her. But, I mean, I don't see that level of vitriol towards Cameron, which he probably deserves for making the whole Brexit thing happen in the first place. I don't see that vitriol towards May. Not the same level as the hatred towards Truss, because it felt personal what these motherfuckers were doing. It felt targeted against different groups, and if you were part of that group. Whereas, like I say, apart from the trans community, and I completely empathise and understand that, apart from the trans community, like the people who actually fucking, they have a picture of Keir Starmer on a dartboard and they throw darts at it, it's a bit weird. It's a bit much. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what it reminds me of? Footy. You know the way people really, really hate Man United, or they really, really hate Arsenal? And if you're not that into footy, you're kind of sitting there going, it's like when I meet a Liverpool fan who really, really, really hates Everton, and you're like, why? Did they stop you winning the league at some point? Did they beat you in the FA Cup? No, the two times that Everton and Liverpool played each other in the FA Cup, I think it was like 86 and 89. Liverpool fucking won. Like what? But the vitriol, the hatred, the actual, fucking hell, I want every bloody supporter of that other team to die. It's kind of like, it's a bit scary. It's a bit scary that people can be riled up in that way to hate other human beings that much that haven't necessarily done anything to them or their community that has been that bad, really, if you think about it. Which is why I'm saying, yeah, if you're part of the people who are were affected in that way by COVID, I understand why you'd hate Boris Johnson if your mortgage went through the roof and you had to leave the country. Because of you had to leave the country. Your mortgage went up. You can see why you hate Truss. If you had to leave the country to keep your family together, and you had to leave your friends and the rest of your family behind, you had to leave your mum and dad behind as they get elderly and they need more help, but you're not there, you're in another country because of fucking Brexit. I can see why people hate Boris Johnson. I can see why people hate Nigel Farage. I hate Nigel Farage, but Starmer, yeah. People are going to tell me in the chat now, why he's a fucking evil twat. But yeah, I think the thing with Starmer is that none of us expected much of Cameron or Truss or Johnson or Trump or Farage. We always expected them to be twats. And when they do twatty things, we go, all right, fair enough. There's no sense of betrayal in it because we weren't relying on them to do anything other than be a gobshite. They were being true to their nature. It wasn't a surprise. Whereas I think a lot of people put a lot of stock in Keir Starmer. They thought, finally, after 14 years of Tory fucking misrule, we're going to get someone who knows what they're doing. But it just does not. And it just hasn't ended up that way. And I think that betrayal is a stronger emotion. I think, it's one thing having a difference of opinion on policy. But when you feel like someone's let you down in that way, I can understand the visceral emotion. But even saying that, I still think it's a bit much. I'm not saying you have to like him. I'm just saying like that there are more worthy candidates for your spite out there. Much more worthy candidates. If you're disabled, you hate Starmer and Reeves. Miss Paula Thomas. I can see that. But that didn't go ahead, did it? They said they were going to go after disabled people and stop the PIP, and then the backbencher said, "No, you fucking not," and they didn't do it. As far as I know, I mean, correct me if they've actually put things through that have made life for disabled people worse, but I guess it depends on what your situation is, and yeah, maybe that is a good reason for fucking hating him. But I do think that the disappointments, do you know what I mean? Like if you are disabled, if you're trans, if you're gay, if you're a minority, you thought that this guy was gonna come and save the day, not make a bad situation worse. You were supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them. Housing Secretary Steve Reed has come out and said, this is not a game. This instability has consequences for people's lives. In a post on X, he said, the people who will be hurt most will be those that elected us less than 2 years ago. We must unite behind the Prime Minister. So, we're going to see more of that, I think, throughout the day with ministers in the cabinet saying, no, we stand with Starmer for now. DJ Marciamu, delay on the 2-child cap lift, but they did say they were going to do that in the manifesto. Gaza, I mean, that's a difficult one because I don't know what if I was in charge, I don't know what I could have done short of declaring war on Israel. I don't know. I think they're put into a very difficult situation. They did put into their manifesto that they were going to look at who we were selling arms to and what arms we were selling, and they did do a review, and they did stop selling a bunch of various weapons that could be used against the civilian population, and said that anything that was sold, or components of what was sold, was there for defence. So if you are, I don't know, putting... if you're making a fighter jet, for instance, that's something that you can claim is for defense. Whereas, because it just takes out other planes attacking you, it's not designed for actually bombing. That's bombers that you're thinking of there. I think that also the Gaza situation has been amplified by the establishment, the powers that be, the right wing, and the tabloids, in order to rail up discontent against Starmer. But the Middle East is such a fucking it is, the situation is a fucking nightmare, to be frank. And I think that a lot of us would have liked to have seen Starmer go further, but they have recognised Palestine. They have reviewed what weapons we sell to Israel, and they have said that if Benjamin Netanyahu ever comes to the UK, we'll fucking arrest him, because they're going to uphold the ICC arrest warrant. So yeah, I mean, they haven't gone far enough, but I'll say this: they've gone much further than the Tories would have done, and they've gone much further than Refuck ever would. But not being as bad as the Tories is not. It doesn't sound that great, does it? Well, at least they're not the Tories. Starmer gave Bibi carte blanche when he said on LBC Israel had the right to deny food and water to the masses as the way to punish Hamas. BU, Mike. Like, I don't want to go into this again, but if you listen to the clip, that's not quite what he says. He's answering a different question, and then was it Nick Ferrari or some twat sort of interrupted him halfway through and then put this in. And I don't think Starmer realised what he was saying. And he apologised for it and said, obviously not. This is a guy who was a humanitarian lawyer for many, many years. He knows the rules of international warfare and being able to, whether it's legal to stop people having water and electricity, which it's not. And he knows that. But, I'm not here to go through everything that Starmer has ever said or done and say, well, we'll give him a 0 out of 10 for his response there. He did apologise for saying that, and with the 2-child benefit cap, for instance, they did it. I know it took too long, but they did it. It's done. It just things in Parliament take too long. Look, I've got ADHD. I want things done yesterday. Okay, I get impatient about watching someone open a fucking jar of jam. All right, and they said in the manifesto we're gonna get rid of the 2-child benefit cap as soon as economic conditions allow. So they gave it a year to sort out the economy a bit from how the Tories actually fucking wrecked it for the last 20 fucking years, well, 14 years, previous 14 years. And they were in a position where they go, okay, we can afford this now. Because if you come in, and look, we've got to live in the real world, all right? You come into Parliament, you personally come into Parliament and you go, right, we're going to lift this cap tomorrow. Right, what that is an unfunded tax cut, effectively. You're saying you're going to spend a load more money, billions more money on something that you weren't spending billions of money on, but you're not going to say how you make the money in the first place. What's the first thing that happens? The gilt yields go through the fucking roof and trashes our economy because we're fucking beholden to these banker twats. I hate that this is the system that's set up, but this is the system that's set up. So all the things sort of complaining. But now we're going to get into a big debate on whether Labour under Starmer have done enough. Obviously, they clearly haven't, because even Labour MPs are saying, you got to go. The electorates are like, we're not happy with you. So, that is true, that they didn't do enough. And so it seems like pointless, churlish even, to sit here and go, well, there was a reason for that. I'll let Phil do that. He's better at doing that than me, because I'm just like, you fucking idiot. I genuinely think that these people they're trained to talk in interviews. I'm like, who's the fuck is training them? The way they come across, and when they don't want to answer a question, and the hedging of the stuff. But I will stick with the idea that Labour can change, right? They can get better with a better leader, which needs to be Andy Burnham. So we're gonna have to wait 6 months before we can sort all that shit out at the very least. Or 3 months. We don't have to make it 6 months. It's 3 months, right? Sort it out. We'll sort it. Don't worry. We'll sort it. But also, the Labour have delivered. Do I have a delivered thing here? No, I don't. I've got deliver. Deliver. Labour have delivered 50% of their manifesto, the stuff that they were elected to do. The manifesto was fucking shit. Like, it wasn't fucking shit, but I mean, it was a bit like half-arsed. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like full-throated, let's go fucking crazy, let's give everyone free internet or whatever. But then it had to be in order for them to get people to vote for it, because we live in a democracy, and our government reflects who we are as people and who we are as a society. Unfortunately, a lot of our society has had its minds poisoned by the right-wing filth and the fucking tabloids for the last 50, 60, 70 years. So the cabinet meeting is over. Ministers are piling out, and there's a scrum of journalists attempting to get them to talk on camera. So we can watch this. Do you want to watch this live? Starmer tells cabinet, I will get on with governing. Should we watch them leave? Let's watch the MPs leave, and we'll get back to what's going to happen next, I guess. But yeah, I really don't want to get bogged down in defending Labour. But like I say, they're giving me 43% of what I want, which is more than I'd ever get from the gobshites at this is more than I'll ever get from the gobshites at the Tory HQ. Oh, fuck. Okay. Let's put my ears in. Okay. Oh, people are shouting
for the job that he's doing.
But that's what the public. What about those who don't hang on?
He'll carry on.
Can he hang on?
Wants to carry on.
Keep calm and carry on.
As he should, as the public will expect him to do.
Mr. McFadden, did Wes Streeting give his support?
Is that delusional by carry on?
Who's shouting?
Yeah, so it feels a little bit like a scrum here at the moment, but interesting to get a few words.
Weird scrum. In a scrum, you're supposed to have your head down and be grabbing the egg ball.
He was saying there were many statements of support. You heard me ask, I hope, did Wes Streeting make a statement of support? He didn't answer that question. But we're going to keep an eye on anyone else coming out through the door. It is
What's the
interesting
MFA
that
on
more
my
of these cabinet
website?
ministers are actually making
Sorry, Daylight M,
a
can you just
statement.
explain what MFA is?
Your thoughts on what we've heard?
I'm
from them?
problems
The
with your
most
websites at the
significant thing
moment.
we've heard is Peter Kyle, the business secretary backing the Prime Minister.
Nothing's
He's
been triggered.
Wes Streeting's best friend in politics. They went and saw The Devil Wears Prada 2 together at the weekend. Peter Kyle still backing the Prime Minister. We don't know what Wes Streeting has done, but that is significant.
Yeah, he said the words, and I'm not sure that our camera picked them up here, but he said nothing's been triggered.
Yeah, so as far as we can tell from that,
Triggered.
that means that at least in the meeting, nobody, including Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, took the Prime Minister's challenge, which is to actually formally go for it and run against him for the leadership. So just as a recap, the Prime Minister's argument that we know that he made at the top of the Cabinet meeting was that the leadership process has not been triggered. It kind of doesn't matter how many MPs say they do or don't have confidence in him. 81 MPs need to back a specific rival candidate. They haven't done that. The Prime Minister is trying to exploit divisions among those MPs who want him to go because they are divided over who should succeed him.
Oh, you're fucking
As
artist.
far as we can tell from the Cabinet meeting, the Cabinet Ministers who've emerged from this meeting so far,
I'm not doing an MFA.
they're
Marshall fucking
still
artist.
backing him. But, I mean, this is extraordinary. This is kind of
It's-
unprecedented.
it-
Cabinet
it's
Ministers
quite
emerging from the Cabinet
something.
meeting to have to tell us whether the Prime Minister still has their confidence, whether the Prime Minister is still in situ. And where is Wes Streeting?
Well,
Half the
it's-
Cabinet has left.
It's so interesting, isn't
out
it,
the back
that a
door.
number of them have actually stopped to speak.
Yeah.
Because often they come and go from these meetings and
yeah.
they smile,
No,
they
usually
wave,
I'm
they
standing
don't say
here as one of a
anything.
couple of people shouting forlornly into the middle
multi-factor
distance.
authentication.
This is a rather different situation.
Yeah, no, sorted that out.
These
Thank
Cabinet
you.
Ministers want to tell us what is going on.
If you put 2
and
FA,
the
I
Prime
would have got it.
Minister is going on in the eyes of those who've emerged so far. Although, look, some of them kept stum. Ed Miliband, the Energy Secretary, whose close ally Miata Fahnbulleh resigned as a minister earlier today. And I tell you, is the Prime Minister carrying on?
Can you speak to us on BBC
Stop
News
shouting
about the
down the
meeting?
mic.
Okay, so she said that the Prime Minister has her full support. She's the chair of the Labour Party, and that he's getting on with the job.
Yes, and we've heard that from quite a few. We're getting on with the job. I mean, I just wonder, and this is obviously speculation,
behind
but,
you.
you know, whether there is a feeling among those, and obviously we include in this Wes Streeting, who are interested in the leadership, about whether a move now would actually backfire on them, whether it is not quite the right time, despite everything that's gone on.
Well, I've been speaking to a lot of people over the course of this Cabinet meeting, as everybody digests what the Prime Minister said.
Right.
Supporters of Wes Streeting, opponents of Wes Streeting, people who just want to, pull a pillowcase, put their head on a pillow and hope it all goes away. The whole spectrum of the Labour Party, a lot of them agree that Wes Streeting is going to look silly if he doesn't go for this. The assumption of loads of people in Westminster, though this is denied by allies of Wes Streeting, is that some of the resignations yesterday as parliamentary private secretaries, some of the MPs who called for the Prime Minister to go yesterday were doing so because they want Wes Streeting to succeed. We all know, the Prime Minister has known for 6 months, that Wes Streeting wants to succeed him at some point. If he doesn't take this chance to stand up and challenge the Prime Minister, does he end a diminished figure? That is actually one of the hopes, I think, of the Prime Minister's gambit today. And I'm just going to say again, it's really interesting that, 5, 6, 7 minutes ago now, that a trickle of Cabinet Ministers began to emerge. Where is Wes Streeting? Is he still in there? Is he having a meeting with the Prime
He's gone out
Minister
back door.
to resign? I don't know. To tell him that he's sorry and that he's backing him? I mean, we really don't know, but
Oh, no.
this is a
Our
sort of
shark has been shadow
fascinating
banned. That's no good.
cliffhanger happening right now behind that famous black door.
That is a big question in the puzzle of this day that we are trying, we're trying to connect the pieces, aren't we, and work out what it actually
Driving
means for Keir Starmer,
in Luton.
for the Labour Party,
Your
for
cat
the
is
government
not
of the
allowed
UK and its position.
fucking pizza,
with
all right?
countries
Cat.
around the world. Keir Starmer, of course, has been a leading figure in the
Here
coalition.
tonight,
Is a leading
says
figure in the
stand
coalition.
and
The willing,
deliver your
to
money or your
support
life.
Ukraine has been very prominent in terms of what he thinks should happen vis-a-vis Iran, saying the UK is not going to get pulled
Is he PSM?
into
Who?
that war. So,
Person.
he's spoken out on the global stage.
No one
as a
cares about
well-known figure
Streeting, for
because
fuck's
of it.
sake. Streeting is in a meeting with Mandelson.
Pieces of that puzzle to see what all of this means.
We're going to get
for
rid of the
his
Prime Minister because he's
future
very
leadership and the
unlikable.
direction
And we're going to
of the
replace him
UK
with someone who's
economy.
even more unlikable.
Quick recap
The
of what we
fuck?
have heard from the ministers
The fuck?
who emerged. So Peter Kyle, as you say, a close friend of Wes Streeting, but also said nothing has been triggered, and by that he means the process by which someone would challenge the Prime Minister. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, and he talked about getting on with his job as business secretary. I couldn't actually hear everything he said because I was in this bit of the scrum, not that bit of the scrum, but the clear indication I took from it was that he is supporting the Prime Minister. Now, on one level, that's not a surprise. Peter Kyle was touring the broadcast studios supporting the Prime Minister just yesterday morning, although it feels about 6 weeks ago now. But Peter Kyle is Wes Streeting's best friend in politics. So that is quite a significant division between them, potentially. We don't know what Wes Streeting's position is yet.
Yeah,
so that's
Zeffman,
significant.
private school
We also
mafia,
have Steve Reed,
Highgate
close
School.
ally of the Prime Minister.
And then he went to
posted on
Brasenose
X
College
from
in
the
Oxford.
cabinet meeting that he's continuing to support the Prime Minister. He's the Housing Secretary. He backed the Prime Minister. Who else
Liz
have we
Kendall?
seen? Liz Kendall, the Science Secretary, also from the right of the party, like Wes Streeting, like Peter Kyle. She backed the Prime Minister. Pat McFadden, the Work and Pension Secretary. I think he backed the Prime Minister.
Blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, sorry, that came up with I was wrong. It should have said I was right. I was right. I was right. Everything I say is... Yeah, so he's not going to leave. He's not resigning. Oh, that was a damp squib, wasn't it? A nothing burger. It's funny how the word nothing burger has come to replace damp squib. I guess that reflects the fact that we don't really use squibs anymore. It's all digitally added afterwards. Why doesn't Hugh understand why people hate Starmer when he lists how he has treated trans people, disabled, and Gaza? Because the Tories would do exactly the same thing. Like the vitriol towards, say, Rishi Sunak, a guy who was living in he was living in 11 Downing Street with his wife, two of the richest people in the country, and his wife was claiming non-dom tax status. I mean, reasons to hate. Reasons to hate. She was only paying like £29,000 a year in income tax instead of paying like fucking millions is what she should have been paying. Best friends, how old are they? Sick. Unfortunately, I live in a flat and disabled, so unable to walk it. Would love another dog. If I win the lottery, that would be top of my list. Oh yeah. I'm very much a cat dog person. I like cats and dogs. I like you know, what are those things called? Star Wars. I like Star Wars and Star Trek. Let's see who's coming out now.
Is it over for Keir Starmer?
Just a brisk walk in the morning. From
Not
the
explicit
Attorney General.
support from the Attorney General, Richard
No.
Homer, but let me tell you, Richard Homer is definitely still supporting the Prime Minister. More than anyone in this cabinet, he is here only because of Keir Starmer. He was a KC.
What's going on? I was right. I was right. I shouldn't have that pop up. I don't think I don't think people care. I don't think people care that much. Him at the mic, far too giddy. He's a big giddy. I need to add him to my private school mafia list. Henry Zeffman, his name is. And he has a brother, Oliver, who is a conductor. I don't think he's a bus conductor, mate. Oh, we got another super chat come in. Yay! Streeting should think about what happened to Heseltine. Yeah. And there's another thing, actually. I think Tories as well can do all right, having that lack of personability. And they do. Oh, here he is. Wes Streeting's come out. Here we go. Everyone's going crazy. He's just walking out. He's not saying anything. He's off to fly the plane. He's not said anything. Ooh.
Yeah, well, a pretty inscrutable look, and certainly no comment from Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, Henry.
Are you measuring?
Well, he still has his ministerial red folder.
That is the answer to one question. Where is Wes Streeting? He's just walked past us and said nothing.
I mean, I take it from the folder that he's still the Health Secretary.
Just Hannah says, personally, I
there's
think
nothing
students
can
should
tell
F
you.
off
I mean,
forever.
He didn't come and tell us that he supports
Same
the
here.
Prime Minister. But I think he is going to have to say something either
Oh, yeah,
way.
confetti.
Yeah.
The plan at the start of this week from Wes Streeting was that he wouldn't appear in public until Thursday when there's some NHS statistics to be published. that ain't going to last.
That's going to be
as
a
a
hard
media
line to
handling
hold.
plan, I think we can say.
Going back then to the question of Shabana Mahmood, what do you do with someone who has said, a cabinet minister who has said they want you to set out a timetable to go?
Well, in the first instance, you defy them. That's what Keir Starmer did at Cabinet today. He instead threw down the gauntlet to anybody who wants to challenge him for the leadership and said that that is the way to prize him out of 10 Downing Street. Whether he goes further in terms of taking action, I don't know. I mean, remember the last time we were in a situation approaching this, or it was far worse for the Prime Minister then, was 2022 when Boris Johnson dealt with cabinet resignation after cabinet resignation, ministerial resignation as his authority crumbled. Boris Johnson had a cabinet minister, in that case Michael Gove, visit him and say, look, I think you probably ought to go. And Boris Johnson responded by sacking him. Boris Johnson then resigned the next day. But
anyway, but yes, there you go. That ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna last. It ain't gonna last. So I might pop on to that if I've got to keep an eye on it. But driving, that's a lovely cat name. Driving is a lovely cat name. Not Boutros Ghali then. My cat was called Boutros Ghali. Lovely little cat, little boo. What are we saying here? Streetings should think about what happened to Hazeltine. That triggered the confetti. So 3, 2, 1, confetti! Woo! All good. All good, my friends. All good. Yep. So that happened. But Starmer's he's not leaving. But we have got another private school person on the BBC, so that's important. That's good. Keep the status quo. Keep the status quo going. It is slightly ironic that one of the reasons why Starmer can dig his heels in is because there's precedent for digging your heels in for a Labour leader when everyone else is like, I don't want you to be the leader anymore. It's like, well, fuck you. I'm the only person, only I alone can solve this. I think Starmer knows that he's got to go. I just don't think that he thinks it's a good idea for Wes Streeting to take over from him. I don't think anyone thinks that it's a good idea for Wes Streeting to take over. And yeah, like I say, I'd like Andy Burnham to take over. Andy Burnham, funnily enough, who I voted for in the 2015 leadership election for Labour, I genuinely think that he would make a fantastic Labour leader and hopefully a good Prime Minister, a better Prime Minister than Starmer, not just because he's more approachable, but also he is more left-wing. He's less tainted by the fucking blue Labour twats who have fucked things up for everyone by trying to make Labour more socially conservative than anyone was expecting them to be. And I know Phil will say, well, Labour have always been socially conservative. And yes, if you look through history, every time Labour get in, they tend to be a lot more conservative than they were in opposition. That is true. Have a look through the history books and we can pretend that the Attlee government was this wonderful, wonderful thing that gave us the NHS and did all these wonderful, wonderful things. But at the end of the day, it was the Attlee government who were in charge when 1 million people died during Indian partition. So you're screaming Gaza now at Labour because they haven't actually, I don't know what you want us to do, gone and bombed Tel Aviv. Look at what Britain did, which was Britain. It wasn't another country forcing us to do that, or it wasn't another country doing something and we simply weren't doing enough to stop them, like there's anything we could do to stop Israel at this point, which I don't think there is, because they're kind of backed by the Yanks, who are fucking crazy for that shit, because they think it's going to bring on the end of the world. But not only was Labour the government in power during Indian partition, which led to the deaths of brutal, violent deaths of 1 million people. They also the government in charge when we developed the nuclear fucking bomb. So we did that, yeah. So you wonder why Labour MPs continue to support Trident. Well, they fucking started it, didn't they? And you can look at any time that Labour have been in power. We had the same thing with Tony Blair in 1997. Are you kidding me? First thing they did was bring in tuition fees, even though they didn't put it in their manifesto. They were going to do that, by the way. For those people who think that Labour can only do what's in the manifesto. No, they don't. They do whatever the fuck they want to do in fucking government. They got 403 fucking MPs. Do what the fucking shit they like. Jesus. But yeah, I think that there is some kind of like ideal that, especially us on the left, we have that we want to see from our left, what we thought was left-wing government. But then the reality of life just comes along. And I don't think Labour, for once, I don't think that this Labour under Starmer would have turned towards Europe if if it hadn't been for that gobshite Trump winning the election in 2014. I just don't think it would have happened. I think they would have just gone, oh, Trump, Kamala, can we have some crumbs from the table, please? But because Trump has been so aggressive against us and putting these trade tariffs on, 100% tariffs on pharmaceutical, really hitting us where it hurt, because our pharmaceutical industry was one of the few industries that actual physical industries that Britain still had that was going strong. He put 100% tariffs on them. No wonder the UK fucking government went, shit, what do we do about this? And pushed to get a 0% tariff on them, which we've done. But at the cost of that is what Trump gets what he wants, because he manages to put up the prices for our medical, pills, medicines, procedures, whatever the fuck it is, coming over from America. Because it's in his head, he thinks that because we don't pay as much for, Ventolin inhalers in America, they pay like $900 for a bit of plastic that you breathe in. In over here, it's free on prescription, or £10 a month. He's decided, just like with NATO, like, oh, we're the only country paying for this. We're paying for everyone else's defense. It's like, well, it doesn't really work like that. You're paying for your own defense, mate. But it doesn't all go into a big pot and everyone takes a share. And America's got the biggest thing. They wanted to have bases all over the world. They want to have 150 bases where Americans were allowed to have basic sovereignty in those areas. But then they've tested the limit to their sovereignty by going into this stupid fucking war with Iran. And, there's a lot of countries, especially Spain in particular, told them to fuck off. You're not launching bloody planes from our country to kill people in Iran for no fucking reason, other than you've never looked at a map. Streeting silence speaks volumes. Yes, Hidnight, ironically. Didn't you like the dramatic irony of that? A silence that speaks volumes. At this point, Starmer has to wait for Burnham to become PM before trying to resign. Yeah, but Benjamin, I agree. And I think that would be good. I think it will drive the party to the left. And Zach Balansky's doing a great job at the moment of driving Labour towards the left, because I think they're slowly realising that they can't take these votes from refuck. And I know that's painful for Labour, because Labour like to put themselves as the bastion of the working class, but they're not anymore. They simply aren't, because Nigel Farage, with his simple racist slogans and his simplistic fucking ideas for making life better in Britain, which is to leave the EU, leave NATO, get rid of any human rights, so my girlfriend can be, sacked from her job tomorrow with no leave, nothing, just for being disabled. They want to bring back that world, or for being a woman. They want to bring back that world. That's the world that they want to bring back. And unfortunately, a lot of people who work hard all their life have fall for this shit. They fall for this shit, and it's sad. It's sad. SG is like, everyone stop fucking bickering. Yeah, but I think Zach Balansky's done a good job at dragging the Overton window back towards the left, and I think Labour are going to have to just readjust their wellies, and I think there is a romanticism, especially amongst sort of working class, middle class Labour voters, that the working class, this romantic ideal that they're all like wonderful people, salt of the earth and all that. There are some working class people who are absolute fucking gobshites. There's a lot of middle class people who are absolute fucking gobshites as well. All upper class people are gobshites, as far as I'm concerned. The reality is, no, if there's a racist candidate who's put forward, a lot of people who were working class voted for Brexit as well. A lot of middle class people voted for Brexit. No one gets a fucking free rein in that, I feel bad for Scotland and Northern Ireland for being dragged out against their will from the EU. I don't think that that's very democratic for a nation to be pulled out of the European Union, to lose trillions of pounds worth of investment and funding and trade over the years. I forced to do that by a vote that took place in another country. Like, how is that fair? How is that right? How is that justifiable? But yeah, that's going into the whole structure of the United Kingdom and how we could possibly improve it. So we do actually have thing. Support the genocide treaty and the Geneva Convention, says Shiny One. They have recognised Palestine as a country, which allows them to legally say what Israel has done is against the law, international law, and allows, because we're part of the war, we're part of the war crimes court in The Hague. We're part of the International Criminal Court. And if Israel's not, the US isn't, but if Netanyahu ever comes here, he can be arrested. And the government has said, yeah, we will arrest him. I mean, yeah, look, short of bombing Israel, I mean, it's a shit situation. They're handed an absolute fucking shit sandwich. And because of Brexit, here's a lesson for all the Lexiteers out there, we can't do a Spain because we're so fucking vulnerable. We're absolutely dependent on other countries, especially America. So we have to play nice with them because we left the EU, the gang, the club that we were in, that could actually team up and have just as much economic power, more people power, because there's more people live in the EU than live in America. And have some muscle behind us, be part of a union. I thought people on the left liked being part of unions. I thought that was the whole point, why we hated Thatcher so much, because she tried to destroy the unions. And then we have left-wingers going, let's get rid of, let's pull out of this thing. Now Spain is protected. Its economy is protected by the fact it's in the EU. We don't have that anymore. And we don't have that because people voted for fucking Brexit. We diminished our power. We diminished how much money we can spend on health, mental health, on infrastructure, on schools, education, potholes, you fucking name it. We could have 100 billion, with a B, available, extra, for the government to spend on making things better for people in this country. And we don't have that. Every year, that is gone. It's over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion. And as I was saying the other day, contextualize how much $1 trillion is, right? First of all, if you want to say 1 billion, don't. Say the word million 1 million times. Sorry, say it 1,000 times for 1 billion. Say it 1,000 times. Sit there all day just saying the word million. Or $1 trillion, say 1 million 1 million times, which will take you about 11 and a half days if you don't sleep or eat or say anything else or drink. Because that's how big $1 trillion is. And we've lost that money. Not just money to our economy. That is, year on year, money that we have lost by not being part of the EU that hasn't gone to the Treasury for us to spend on stuff we actually fucking need. To spend on supporting children, supporting young parents, supporting people to get into education, to get jobs, to get meaning in life. £100 million a year that we do not have, that we could have had if we hadn't fucking Brexited. And we're weak and we're powerless. And yeah, when horrible shit happens, like the fucking genocide in Gaza, what the fuck can we do? Yeah, well, I'll tell the America to fuck off. Yeah, and then they fuck our economy and people starve on the streets because we can't afford to feed ourselves. Don't forget, this country doesn't make enough food for itself. We don't make enough energy for ourselves at the moment. We're completely reliant on imports for our energy and our food. Good luck. Good luck standing on your own two legs. Good luck, telling everyone to fuck off. But this is the real world. This isn't student politics. And yeah, I would absolutely fucking love it if we could get Benjamin Netanyahu fucking do what the Yanks did with Maduro in Venezuela, right? Just fucking kidnap the fucker and put him on trial. Oh, I'll be up for that. Him and that fucking horrible twat-faced gobshite, the one who had the fucking noose cake, Ben Gavir, fucking kidnapped them and put them on fucking trial. Fucking, that sounds great to me. But we can't. We don't have the power. We don't have the military. we don't have the international standing anymore because of Brexit. All comes back down to Brexit. We have stuffed ourselves by going, this arrogance of going, oh yeah, we could do anything we want, really, if you put our mind to it. We can stand on our own 2 feet. No, we can't. Why? Because of geography, mate. That's it. Geography. to bring this conversation back around to to how this all started. But yes, if Labour get rid of Starmer, which looks vanishingly unlikely in the next week, but I do think that it will happen, and then Labour can say we're a new party now, as the Tories did. The Tories did this time and time again. They went, oh no, we're a new party. We're a completely new party. We've got a new leader. Nothing to do with the old party. They did that when they got May in. They did that with Boris Johnson. They did that with Truss. They did that with Sunak. Oh, we're completely different. We're not the same party that brought in the emergency mini budget. We're not the people who brought in the where's me mini? Oh, there you go. This budget, the true Tory budget. At last. Oh, there's Queenie there. She died. They're not the party who brought in Brexit. They're not the party who partied during lockdown. They're not the party who brought in austerity. It's a Rishi Sunak show now. Yeah, Labour can do the same thing. Labour can do the same thing. We listened, we changed, we reset. I use the word reset a lot when Burnham gets in, but it's got to be Burnham. And I hate to be fatalistic or whatever you call it, deterministic. I don't know what the right word is for it. When you prophesize a leader to come, but I just can't see it being anybody else. There's no one else at the platform, untainted by scandal, untainted by the shit that Labour have done so far in office, the bad things they've done. And they've done good things. They have lifted the 2-child benefit cap, but they were getting no credit for that. And this is, for the Labour MPs and the cabinet, this must be so frustrating. It's like people are going, we want more rights for workers. And they went, well, we gave more rights. We want more money for doctors. We gave them 27% pay rise. We want to get rid of the 2-child benefit cap. Yeah, we got it. Too slow, motherfuckers. You should have done it right away. But then, you worry, don't you, about the effect on the fucking markets. Because we live in a fucking capitalist society. Built by gobshites to protect their interests, to protect their money, to protect their nest eggs. Many, many, many eggs. But yeah, look, this is bigger than Starmer himself. Labour is confronting a identity crisis, a communication crisis. God, don't get me started on Labour fucking comms. Oh my God. A leadership crisis. The post-landslide complacency, maybe. The rise of 5-party politics. And they are, to a certain extent, repeating the exact Tory death spiral that saw the Tories whittled down to 116 MPs, panic, coups, briefing wars, revolving door leadership, public exhaustion with the drama, always the fucking drama. Wasn't it supposed to be no drama, Starmer? What happened to that? But yeah, the big question is, we don't know what was discussed in cabinet there. The big question is, I think, at the end of the day, I don't think it's whether Starmer should go. I think the answer is yes for everyone. I think even the people who support him understand that. It's who replaces him. It's who replaces him. And at the moment, I don't see anyone in the cabinet or even on the backbenches in Labour who I think would do a really good job of being Prime Minister in these particular circumstances. Because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I don't know how, when I talk to someone who's very, very pro-EU, they get so vexed and so angry that Labour haven't done more to rejoin the EU tomorrow. I'm like, okay, but if I was in that position and we're going to rejoin the EU tomorrow in this current political climate with Nigel Farage back in bloody politics, being a twat and being funded by these, disgusting foreign-based billionaires who have made all their money through crypto blood money to evade, used to evade Russian sanctions on a regime that is constantly murdering European men, women, and children on a daily basis, blowing up civilian infrastructure. And that's something that hardly ever happens the other way, Like Ukraine hardly ever do anything that kills Russian civilians. They do stuff that takes out refineries. They do stuff that takes out military bases and planes and all that kind of stuff that's being used for the military, the imperialistic war machine run out of Moscow, run by the dictatorship, the oligarchy, the gangstocracy. run out of Moscow. That they are that this political environment that we're in at the moment, where GB News is losing £50 million a year, but it doesn't matter because they're just a mouthpiece for refuck, where the newspapers can just print lie after lie after lie and never have to fucking retract it. Something that Labour should have done something about, by the way. It's just, yeah, what would I do? And would I take us back into the EU tomorrow? No, I wouldn't. In fact, what I would do, as very much a pro-EU person who wants us to go back into the EU, it would be piecemeal. It would be getting people on board, going, making people realise it's not that bad, and heading off this emotional reaction. Oh, I don't want to be back under the yoke of the EU and all that. You can imagine what happens, and it's horrible to say, but we have to wait. We have to wait because we need the dog to wag the tail, not the other way around with this. We need the electorate to come on board in a massive way. And I'm not just talking 52-48 in our direction. I'm talking we need a supermajority of people polling time and time again. And we're nearly there. We're not that far off, but polling time and time again to say we want to be back in the EU. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And if I was in charge, I would be making a much stronger argument for closer ties with the EU than Labour are currently making, but I understand why they're doing it the way they're doing it, unfortunately. Because that's real politics. But this isn't sixth form debating, okay? This is the real fucking world, and real people are suffering, and real people are fucking dying because of the decisions made every day by politicians all over the world. By politicians who aren't even from this country or in this country or working for the people in this country. And we've got to be smart about it. And I'm just going, right, well, this is the thing that I want more than anything else in the world. And if this government doesn't give me this thing that I want more than anything else in the world, they can go fuck off and die forever. I think in some ways it's quite churlish. And I will put an exception on that, because if you feel like this Labour government is targeting you, as in who you are, and saying that you shouldn't be able to go out and live your authentic life, yeah, that's something different. I'm talking about, having a particular policy thing that you are very, very passionate about. Why aren't Labour doing enough about this? And they could ask the question, why aren't Labour doing more about and I'm not trying to indulge in whataboutism, and I don't want to get into this in the chat, but there are some horrific things going on right now around the world, not least what's happening in the Darfur region of Sudan. This civil war that's been going on for over 3 years now. Between the RSF and these the government forces. So you got this militia that's being propped up by their proxies. Well, they are the proxies. They're being propped up by the UAE and the government in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, who are being backed by the Saudis. So the Saudis and the UAE are fighting this kind of proxy war in Sudan, and it seems to be a lot of the time is like who can massacre the most people, who can massacre the most innocent people who are caught in the middle of all this. There's been massacres where the bodies have been able to be seen by fucking satellites. There's that many of them stacked up. It's absolutely brutal, and there's hardly anything in the media about it. There's hardly anything. There were no marches. There's no people. Where was the marches for Iran? When did that happen? America, unprovoked, absolutely unprovoked. They say, oh, well, they've been saying death to America all the time. Fuck that shit. Absolutely unprovoked. Went and bombed a school with 170 little girls in it and killed them. Absolutely unprovoked. And it just seemed to get a let. There's hardly anything about it in the news. Hardly anything about it, like people protesting against Gaza all the time. Even when Israel isn't actively, well, obviously they're still fucking things up in the West Bank no matter what. But even when Israel is not actively participating in a genocide that day, there's people protesting against what's happening in Gaza. Sudan, silence. Iran, silence. Libya, silence. Eritrea, I never even hear the word Eritrea coming out of people's mouths because we don't know anything about it. But they've had a tyrannical government since 1991 who consistently murder their own population, left, right, and centre. And if that was my thing, and I was like, well, I might have workers' rights, I might have renters' rights come in, we might have got rid of the 2-child benefit cap, but we haven't done enough about Eritrea. You would look at me and go, oh, really, Graham? Is that the hill you're going to die on? Like, we live in a democracy. I'm sorry that we don't live in a country in which you are in charge and your personal political ideals are put forward as the most important thing. But we are 67 million people, each with our own hopes and ideals and morality and priorities. And I'll tell you this now, knocking on doors, right, around here, no one has ever mentioned changing the voting system, for instance. But I have friends who are genuinely like, if Labour don't change the voting system, they can fuck off and die into the sun forever. And I'm like, okay, but they're bringing in votes for 16 and 17-year-olds. And they've got rid of the life peers in the House of Lords. I mean, I'd like them to get rid of the House of Lords entirely, but and any political party that you want to support is going to face these problems. If the Greens got in with a majority, they will face exactly the same problems. What's Zach Palahniuk going to do about Israel? What's he going to do? What can he do? He's not going to start a war. He's maybe put sanctions on Israel. Well, we already have some sanctions. We're just saying we're not selling certain weapons to them. But go further with that and incur the wrath of America. And then America's got some fucking tin pot twat in charge like Trump. And what does he do? He just turns around and says, right, that's it. We're fucking sanctioning the United Kingdom. Putting a block on our banking services. It's the only thing keeping our fucking economy afloat these days. Then we're fucked, aren't we? Or maybe there's an oil blockade. Then we're fucked because we're still completely dependent on oil. I mean, the Greens want a green revolution, but they want to have one that doesn't involve putting any new cables, electricity cables up. Okay. How are you going to do it? Well, we're going to put them under the sea. You're going to put electricity cables from Scotland down to the southeast under the sea. Yeah. Fuck me. Or you're going to bury them. You're going to bury electricity cables. You're going to have 48,000 fucking volts going through a bloody electricity cable, and you're going to have that buried so that someone coming along with a shovel can shovel through it. And then we'll put markers. We'll put all the way. We're going to draw a bloody line. And how much is it going to cost to these massive fucking power lines, these big fuck off power lines to decentralize our power grid, which is something that we need to do? How are you going to get it? And don't forget, a lot of the Greens are fucking NIMBYs about stuff. The Greens are teaming up with the Tories in a constituency in the UK to, I think it was Warwickshire or somewhere. They're teaming up to block a housing development for 2,000 starter homes because they say it's on Greenbelt land. And okay, cool. So people are going to vote for the Greens because they think they're going to do green stuff, and then they're going to do stuff like not allow the energy revolution to take place because it costs too much money. Then the gilt yields are going to go mad because that's what they do. And then they're like, shit, we've got no money. And the money that we owe, because we owe fucking billions and billions of pounds because we Brexited, we're having to spend even more on repaying the interest on our fucking government fucking loans. And if you come up with a solution to that, I'd love it. You can say, we're going to have a wealth tax. Zach Palahniuk's going to bring in a wealth tax. And I'm like, okay, cool, we'll bring in a wealth tax. And then the wealthy fuck off. They put all their money into cryptocurrency, onto their Mondo or their Revolut account in the South China Seas or something. And we never see the money. A land tax, yeah, I'm up for that. I'm up for changing the fucking council tax so it's a bit fairer. But is Zach Palahniuk going to get rid of private schools? I don't think so. I'd love to see them do that. Get rid of them. Fucking burn them down. Let the kids out first. Get rid of them. They entrench privilege. They entrench the elite, the Epstein elite that run everything in our country. Get rid of them. Are they going to do that? I don't know. Is it in the manifesto? I don't know. The Lib Dems, they want to get rid of grammar schools. Not the private schools, but the grammar schools, which actually genuinely do give working class kids and lower middle class kids a chance to excel in school. Arguably. I don't think it's a great system because it's still based on catchment areas and things. But there you go. I went to a selective comp, technically. It's now a grammar school. I think they had to call it a selective comp because that's the way you got away with it in the 90s. But our catchment area went all the way in the north up to Crosby. Going east, it went all the way to St. Helens. So we had schoolmates of mine would come in from Crosby, come in from St. Helens in the morning. In the south, it went all the way down into Withers. And Halton. And it was just anyone who passed the interview. It wasn't an exam, it was an interview. And so a lot of my mates growing up were from working class backgrounds, growing up in terraced streets in Old Swan, Norris Green, Kensington, some of the poorest areas, Tobruk, some of the poorest areas in the city. And I went to school with them. I went to school with kids from different religions, different ethnic classes. So I was in school with Catholics, I was in school with Protestants, I was in school with Jewish people, Sikhs, Muslims, and that seemed normal to me growing up in that multicultural situation in Liverpool. It was only when I got a bit older and left Liverpool and was like, fucking hell, the rest of the country's not this multicultural, is it? So what I thought was normal is a bit freaky when I go to the village of the Dam down the road here in Durham, where everyone's white. But yeah, I think that we need to calm down, and I understand that that's a bit patronising to say, I'm sorry, but I completely understand why my trans friends and trans allies are really fucking upset with Labour, because we expected them to do better, do so much better when it comes to trans rights, when it comes to the Gender Recognition Act needing rewriting, so it allowed for people to get gender recognition certificates easier, to look back at the Equality Act and make sure that trans women and trans men are covered in that act, which they've done the opposite of that. They said they're explicitly not covered by it, which does not shower them in glory by any stretch of the fucking imagination. So yeah, it's apart from that, if we're going to pick one particular thing, and everyone does this. I'm not having to dig at like anyone in particular here, because like all my friends do this. They have their particular bit of thing that they want, whether it's voter reform, whether it's Gaza, whether it's telling Trump to fuck off. That's a good one. Tell Trump to fuck off. And it's like, well, that's a nice thing to do in a movie where it doesn't matter that much when we're part of the EU, but we're not part of the EU anymore. And that's fucked us for a lot of international things that we would like to do, because we can't tell people to fuck off like we should be able to do. Because if we do, America, sanctions, we're fucked. See, the thing is, America can't put sanctions on Spain because it needs to put sanctions then on the whole of the EU, and the EU says fuck off. And the EU's big and powerful enough to make Apple, the world's biggest fucking tech company, change all the ports on their phones. They're bringing in a law very soon where you're going to be able to change the battery on your phone. It's going to be mandated. You have to be able to change the battery on your phone, and they're going to go along with it because the EU's got that power. We don't have that anymore. We are on our own. I suppose we could get the Commonwealth to stand up for us, but when there's 56 countries in the Commonwealth and the bottom 52 put together economies, that equal that of the remaining 4. Seriously, I not much muscle in the real world, and yeah, I hate I hate that loads of people are going to be watching this thinking, "Oh, Graham, stop making excuses for Labour." I don't want to make excuses for them, to be honest with you. I think they're fucked up. I think they're fucked up a lot of times. I think that Starmer needs to go as the leader, not right now because I want Burnham in. I can't see a decent replacement for Starmer, but steel yourselves, friends, because even when they do get a new leader, I don't think it's going to change that much. It's just not. It never does. It never does. Stop believing that there was some wonderful, glorious time when Labour got in and everything suddenly changed for the better and it all went your way. While Labour were quietly making the country a better place between 97 and 07, and they really fucking were. Liverpool was completely transformed in those years. And so was education, so was the NHS. But while they were doing that, they were also doing the Iraq War, which we all fucking hated. And no matter what wonderful things that Labour might have done at the same time, we'll never forgive them for the Iraq War. That's human nature. I don't think whatever Starmer does from this point forward, he'll ever be forgiven for, misspeaking in an interview 3 years ago. And that's it. Once people sort of draw their lines and say, this is it, this is why I hate this person, it's very, very difficult to get them to move on that. And that's why they need some fresh blood, because it's you've got to win an election. The Tories understand this. The fuckers understand this. But Labour constantly, they prioritise loyalty to their leader. The Tories have got no fucking loyalty. They just take out whoever isn't floating their boat. They can win a landslide election. Next week they can be taken out. Thatcher took the Tories to 3 election wins. In 1990 they took her out. because of the poll tax, which you'll forever be associated with, because it was a fucking disaster. Anyway, what about all of their assets? Why not try debating Gary Stevenson, Graham? I wouldn't debate Gary Stevenson. I'll probably agree with most of the stuff he's got to say. I don't think, and he doesn't say that we should tax people's money in their bank account, because we know that can move. Land tax is probably the best way of dealing with these motherfuckers, because they all own land, they all own property in London and Belgravia and stuff. Absolutely. But Labour have been going after the filthy rich, and you've seen it yourself, where they've gone after VAT on private schools. They've gone after the tax loophole that allowed billionaires to buy vast swathes of land and to tell everyone it's a farm, and therefore not their descendants didn't have to pay inheritance tax. They've looked at the mansion tax, because it's ridiculous that someone literally owns a literal fucking mansion, like, I don't know, Buckingham Palace, and they're paying less in council tax than the elderly couple up the road from you in the terraced house here in Durham. That to me is banana. So they brought in a mansion tax, and you've seen the backlash, not the public, but the media backlash against that. They're taking people out, we're being successful, and all the bullshit these capitalist fuckwits always come out with. And that's for tinkering around the edges in the greater scheme of things. You imagine what would happen if they actually brought in a proper wealth tax, or proper land tax, because land doesn't move, property doesn't move. If you taxed it fairly, the backlash against it, and these people have a lot of fucking money. They've got Trump elected twice. And until we get this filthy money out of politics, another thing Labour need to get on with, I don't see how it's possible in reality, just because of the way that you're talking about undoing nearly 1,000 years since 1066 of the way it's been. It's been the rich and everyone else since 1066. We had a bit of a blip after the Second World War, where the middle class was created. But until then, it was just the serfs and the lords, and that was it. It was the officers and the rank and file, and that was it. And nothing in between. The merchant class, as we know it today, didn't really exist in the way that it does now. The merchant class were pretty much part of the aristocracy, although they were never welcomed into the aristocracy until years later. But they were seen as nouveau riche, and we didn't like that. But the idea of most people earning enough to own their own house was a pipe dream until after the war, and now we've come full circle, and it's a fucking pipe dream again. And we're moving towards an inheritocracy, because we put all of our money into fucking housing. All of our investments, all of our investments in this country, national investments, has gone into housing. All of our pension funds, the money that we could be investing in this country, has gone to other countries. And because of Brexit, inward investment from other countries, like international groups putting money into the UK, has gone off a cliff because of Brexit, which was supported by a lot of people on the left for some fucking reason, which I'm yet to fathom. But if you want to look at why we are where we are, if you expect any government, even you, right, as someone who knows it all and knows how to change things, to make things better, to make things, all the things that need to be done, you've made a list, I'm sure. Even if you were in charge and you were given 2 years to undo 1,000 years of entrenched entitlement for the rich fuckers who have driven this country into the ground, as far as I'm concerned, I'll just say good luck with that. And there is a part of me that thinks Labour are probably doing the best they can. They need to do better. They need to do a lot better. But at the moment, in some of these issues, and not across the board, I think if I was in charge, the comms would be a lot better if I was in charge, just between you and me. I don't sound too arrogant when I say that, but they'll be a lot better. The policies that Labour are doing at the moment, I don't know if I was in charge, I'd be a million miles away from them. I'd want to be. I'd want to be fucking so far left. I would like to bring in universal basic income. I'd like to tax the rich till the pips squeak. I'd like to burn down the private schools. I'd like to get us back into the EU tomorrow. Of course, I'd like to do all that stuff. I'd like to put means testing on pensions. Actually, if you're bringing in universal basic income, you don't need to do that. But yeah, tax them properly. But yeah, Clement Attlee was a Prime Minister of the United Kingdom when the decision to develop nuclear weapons was made. On 8th of January 1947, his Labour government formally authorised research, says Jovian. Just saying. Just saying. But they gave us the NHS. Fucking Normans bringing their institutions of aristocracy and premature, sorry, that's style monarchy. That's where you pass on your kingship to the next generation. And again, no one is expecting the moon on a stick, but there's a very little progress or a roadmap for things getting better. I'm tired of being castigated for expecting the bare minimum. Do you not feel like there has been the bare minimum now? Just click approve. Like, the bare minimum for me would be getting rid of the 2-child benefit cap, which they've done. It would be restructuring our relationship with Europe, which they've done. Nationalising the trains, which they've done. They've nationalised the steel. They've gone after the water companies in a way that they can. As has been pointed out, if we get the water companies and we nationalise them now, we're going to be saddled with so much fucking debt that these bastards have cooked up. So a smarter way of doing it might be, like Phil suggests, to make them not for profit, force them to be not for profit, which they should have been from the fucking start. If you're going to privatise, they don't even privatise the water companies in America, for fuck's sake. You know, the most capitalist country in the world went, oh, that's a bit much. That's a bit much. But yeah, they've brought in the renters' rights, they've brought in the workers' rights, which have been fantastic. And an absolute step in the direction. I think that, I mean, to say the bare minimum, I think they've done the bare minimum. I mean, it's only been the bare minimum. I want more. But do they get any credit for any of the stuff? Is there anything that, is there any, let's put this another way. Is there anything that this Labour government have done, any policies that they've brought through that you actually like? I'm not talking about whether they should have brought it in last week or this week or whatever. Just, is there anything that you think, oh, well, yeah, that was a good thing? Anything at all? Like, have they done one good thing? Because I'll tell you this now, I struggle. I struggle to think about anything good that the Tory government did. It seems to me like it was all bad. The only thing I could think of is gay marriage in 2013. I think that's it. I think that is absolutely it. Val said the concept of finance debt should be abolished. I like that. Yeah. Don't arm genocide, cut benefits, or kick trans people, and make life a little more bearable for the working class. That's literally the least people are expecting. They haven't, as far as I'm aware, they haven't cut the benefits, because when they said they were going to look at that, they got their arse kicked by the backbenchers. So they haven't done that. Kicking trans people, yeah, I completely agree on that. That's got to be the bare minimum that you're going to say. I don't want you to kick trans people. That's fair enough. But arming the genocide, I think that is a difficult one, right? Because as far as the government is concerned, they've gone through the weapons that we sell direct to Israel and said we don't want to sell these particular weapons that we believe could be used against civilian populations. So that someone's done the research on it, someone's gone through it all and, untick the box of things that are okay to sell to Israel. But at the same time, our defense industry is absolutely massive, and another thing that's propping up our economy. Like, we make a lot of arms, and it's horrible. I wish we didn't. And this is the world that the Labour Party and you, if you were in charge right now, would have inherited. So here's your choice. You can say to one of your biggest buyers, Israel, but then by extension the USA, we're not going to build these things anymore. We're not going to sell them to you. And that means people are going to get laid off left, right, and centre. And also, on top of people losing their jobs, these companies that make these weapon systems, they might make a component. They might make a component of a missile launching system or for a plane or something, right? And if we say we're not going to make that stuff, then the companies that have said we're going to make this stuff get sued. And it's going to be the British government picking up the tab on that. So you're talking about giving these massive evil companies, some of them might be Israeli, billions and billions of pounds of British money because you didn't fulfill the contracts. This is the real world. I'm sorry it's like this. I know it's shit. I would like to live in a more ideal world. Honestly, if Labour hadn't done the shit they've done to trans people, which fucks me off no end, the other stuff they've done, I kind of get it. I don't get the trans thing. I do not get why they've gone after trans people. It makes no fucking sense to me whatsoever on a moral level, but also on a political level. Like, it's just a stupid fucking evil thing to do. I don't know why they've done that. But when it comes to arming Gaza, arming the genocide in Gaza, arming Israel, the knock-on effect of us telling Israel to completely fuck off will be America just tells us to fuck off. And we are dependent on America for not just our arms sales, but also for our pharmaceuticals. Another massive industry for the UK, which will get its arse sued off it if America was like, "Where's our pills? We've ordered we've ordered this medical equipment and it hasn't come." Oh well, we've said we're not gonna buy it. Or your president has said, we can't buy it now. You can't buy it off us because of us our stance on Israel, and we don't have the EU to back us up. We're on our own. So not only will people lose their jobs, lose their livelihoods, whenever you see an economic downturn, the number of deaths goes up, so you will literally kill British people. And on top of that, we're going to get sued. So instead of making this arms for Israel or making this component to go into a fighter jet for America, we're going to be giving them the money instead, probably more, because they're going to have to source it from somewhere else. So we'll be funding the Israeli governments to the tune of billions of direct money going into that because we haven't fulfilled the contract. And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know that one of the few things that the government actually backs up, one of the few things that we trade that the government backs up in this country, physical goods, it's not any of the steel we make or the oil we sell or anything like that. It's fucking arms, right? So if the government of Jordan, right, buys, puts an order in for 20 fucking tanks, right, and they only pay for 10 of them. Do you know who pays for the other 10? Fucking we do. And that's the system we've inherited. And yes, it does need changing, but we can't do to the arms industry, unfortunately, we can't do to the arms industry what we did to the coal mines. The coal mines were losing money, right? So they shut them down. They were losing money. They were costing the taxpayer money to keep them open. And we just went, well, we can get cheaper stuff from Argentina. Fuck it, right? It was awful. Devastating, especially for the pit towns around there. I live in a pit village, right? And there's nothing here. There's fucking nothing here. Right? There's no cafe. There's no restaurant. There's no proper pub. It's a shithole. It really is, because I live in the left behind bit of the north, right, in the industrial north, and that was for a sector that wasn't making money, and that's how we were left. The pharmaceutical sector, the defense sector, as they call it, I prefer calling it arms manufacturing because that's what it fucking is. That is a huge cash cow for the United Kingdom. And we're going to get rid of that because we don't want to sell to Israel. And that will create a knock-on effect throughout the supply chains that we make weapons for other countries that aren't Israel, but it's all based on the same production line. This is the real nitty-gritty, the logistics, the frustratingness of it all. And you, I'm sure, have yourself or you have friends who would like to live in an ideal world. And yeah, we can create that. And we can get rid of these fucking arms companies. But we can't do it in 2 years. We just can't. We can stop selling anything to Israel. We can boycott Israel entirely. But it's not going to happen overnight. Especially with Trump in the White House and us not in the EU. So let's make a roadmap of where we want to go. And that's something that Labour haven't fucking done. Like I'm saying, I'm not sitting here going, yeah, everything Labour does is fucking boss, because I know it's not. But I will say this about Labour, right? The MPs that I know, including Mary Foy, who came out last night and said that Starmer needs to go, right? They're decent people. They've gone into politics for the right reasons. They've gone into politics not to make loads of money for themselves like the right-wingers do, like Farage has done, like Boris Johnson did, or to have power in parties. They've gone into politics for the right reasons. And that's the majority of Labour MPs. And no matter how frustrating we all find it, and like I say, I'm ADHD, mate. I get frustrated if someone's pouring a cup of fucking coffee too slow. I get it. I completely get it. And saying to people, we've got to be patient. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And the steps that we need to take in order to get to the future that we all want, a better, fairer future, Labour is at least taking some of those steps. And yeah, it may take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but it's taking some of those steps. The Tories, they're not interested in that better future. They're just feathering their own nests and the nests of their old schoolmates, their old school chums. Refucks the same, but even worse. They want to get rid of any regulation. They want to get rid of rights. They want to get rid of disabled rights. So if you get sacked from a job for being disabled, you've got no comeback. That's the future that the refuckers want. And the people who vote for refuck don't seem to understand this or don't seem to care. One of the two. But yeah, I think there is an easy solution. I think there is a propensity to give an easy solution to complex problems. And reality is not like that. It just fucking isn't. It is horrifically complex. And I don't want to say, oh, you know, it's too complex for your puny human brain to understand. It's not. Someone can get their fucking head around it. It's probably not me. But yeah, we have a goal that we want to get towards. And I love the fact that Zach Polanski is pulling the Overton window to the left. Absolutely love that. That's fucking fantastic. I hope Labour get more left wing as a result of that. I hope that Labour get more left wing as a result of having Burnham as their leader rather than Starmer. I've got no love particularly for Starmer. I don't really hate him. That's to say, I don't understand the vitriol towards him unless you're trans, and then I completely get it. But because it's the disappointment thing, isn't it? It's the betrayal. It's the betrayal that stings more. We didn't expect anything from fucking Boris Johnson, did we? You know, we didn't expect anything from Nigel Farage or from Liz Truss. We always expected them to be wrong uns, and they were. And then we got to sit there going, I told you they were wrong. But we expected something from Starmer, and I understand how a lot of people feel they haven't got it. But at the same time, I will stress that we need to live in the real world. I live in a pit village, and we have, we have a petrol station with the Gregs. We're rich. Gallifreyan Rent, we don't have a petrol station. We have literally nothing. In this village, we have absolutely nothing. We've got a tiny little corner shop. We have to get in the car and drive to Lidl. There's nothing. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's a playing field. That's about it. But you know what's really important? They went round all the pit villages a few years ago here in Durham, and they put some shitty memorial to the fucking mines. And I hate this romanticism. It was a shit job. It was a shit, awful job. And they've got it just feels really tacky to me. You know the way that the poppy fuckers have made Remembrance Day really tacky. You know the way they dress up like head to toe in poppies and stuff makes it really tacky. Yeah, they've done the same with pit villagers around here. They made like these giant fucking is it a Tilly lamp? They made these fucking giant lamps. They put, and I'm like, can we have a cafe? Can we have a third space where we can sit off together as a community? No, can't have that. But you've got a massive fucking Tilly lamp. Look at that. There was a mine here once. Yeah, I know. There's no trace of it anymore. But yeah, there was a mine here before I was born. Okay, cool. Shut down in the 60s, I think. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? People's fucking suffered and died in the past. Yes, I know. But if you're going to spend some money on doing the place up, can you... They like to have they do like a coal, you know, like a little coal trolley on the tracks, and it'll have the name of the village written, like stenciled on the side, so you know where you are, I guess. And I'm just like, well, great, okay, what's worth spending our money on? Can we have a playground instead? Got the money? Can we put some swings in and somewhere for the kids to go? Or maybe even better, like a pub garden, so we can sit there, or a cafe garden. No, we have to go into Durham city centre to go to a cafe, or drive to Bitchburn, which is like fucking 20 minutes away. 40-minute round trip for a coffee. I just, the left behind feeling around here, I completely get it, because the stuff that is the money spent on is, like, I think, fucking ridiculous. But yeah, don't try and get me on the ills of smoking. I already know them, and I get them from Graham Lol. Yeah, don't get me started on smoking. More funding and resources for Badger vaccine programs, and outright banning of Fox were two of the big ones I was looking for at the GE, and they have achieved both. So there you go. One Angry Pagan's happy. You need to change your name to One Happy Pagan. That's what you need to do now. Because you got the things that you wanted. And Gallifreyan, not just from Labour in general, I expect a human rights lawyer to not allow the transgender side. I cannot and will not forget, and even less inclined to forgive. Yeah, I'd like to say, if you're trans, I completely get it. Like, I'm talking about people who aren't trans and people who aren't necessarily trans allies. Their hatred towards Keir Starmer, in particular, is just it's a little bit unhinged. It's a little bit off the charts. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I fucking hate him. But there you go. Still going. Great. Sorry, I got completely derailed by the fact that I'm trying to sort of. I feel duty bound to say Labour have done a shit job in certain aspects of their government so far, but in other ways they have achieved stuff. Go and have a look on Full Facts. Go and have a look on what has actually been achieved. The government tracker. I mean, just objectively take all the emotion out for a moment. And I know people don't vote with their brains; they vote with their emotions. But have a look at that. I mean, they've achieved 22 things. 16 of them appear on track, and 23 are in progress. The 6 that appear off track, there's 6 that have been not kept, and then there's wait and see, which is 15. And then there's unclear or disputed 4 pledges there. I mean, in the greater scheme of things, for them to have either achieved, appears on track, or in progress, 80% of their manifesto that they were elected on. And here's another point. People who voted for Labour, they go, I didn't vote for this. And you go, well, read the manifesto, you actually did. In the manifesto, it says we will lift the 2-child benefit limit when we have the finances to do so, when the economy allows. I think that's the terms they used. And they did. They did it when the economy allowed them to do it. I mean, So yeah, the unclear or disputed. We will train thousands more GPs. Labour will not increase taxes on working people. We will train thousands more midwives and midwifery, raising confidence in the criminal justice system to its highest levels. Yeah. So for the not kept ones, these are ones that they're definitely not kept. Labour will set up a new returns and enforcement unit with an additional 1,000 staff to fast-track removals to safe countries for people who do not have the right to stay here. They haven't done that. Is that a bad thing they haven't done that? I don't think so. I don't want a fucking returns and enforcement unit. I want to welcome people from other countries here. Digital ID will be mandatory for right-to-work checks by the end of the Parliament. That's not going to happen. That's a good thing it's not going to happen. So, we complain about the U-turns, but nearly all of them have actually been in things that I didn't want them to do in the first place. By the way, the number of MPs calling for Starmer to resign has risen to 81. The latest is Lizzie Collins, the MP for Morecambe and Lonsdale. So there you go. And then Work will implement Labour's plan to work make pay, delivering a new deal for working people in full, introducing legislation with 100 days. They have brought in the workers' rights, but this was a slightly different one, I think. Labour will not increase taxes on working people. It's funny because that's in the not kept and it's in unclear as well. So, yeah. Labour will not increase taxes on working people. So there's 2 of the 6 that they haven't kept, which are the same. And capitalised with 7.3 billion over the course of the next Parliament, the National Wealth Fund, which will have a remit to support Labour's growth and clean energy missions. They have started a National Wealth Fund. It just doesn't have 7.3 million pounds in it, I don't think, and that's why they've put that in there. But yeah, so there's 6 pledges that they're not kept, and there's 4. So of the 92 key pledges in the manifesto, only 10 of them, and some of them are duplicates. Like 3 of them, 10 are about Labour not raising taxes on working people. So it's even fewer than that. And then the ones that they haven't done, like the digital ID fucking bullshit, it's not going to be mandatory. Good. That's what they were elected to fucking do. No one reads the manifesto, though, do we? I didn't read the manifesto. Fuck reading. Fuck reading. You know, when someone sends you a link to something and it requires you to read it, like it's an article, you're like, oh, fuck this shit. That's why a lot of the times I won't even bother putting the link on. I'll just take a screen cap of the headline and the picture and then just put that up as a picture and go, isn't this shit? And I know a lot of people do that. Probably not good, but there you go. I'll put the link in the description. The link in the comments. Link in comments. They've done more than the Tories did in 14 years. Yeah, that's what I mean. And it's like there's no way that any government is going to give you 100% of what you want. If the Greens get in, they're not going to give you the energy revolution, the green revolution that you want, because they can't. Not while they're keeping their policy of not having any more power lines. They don't want any power lines being built. They constantly rally against that. The 2,000 new homes, starter homes that were going to be built, that the Greens and the Tories have got together to try and derail. I'll tell you where that is in a minute. Yeah, do you want somewhere to live? Well, don't vote Green then, I guess. Yeah, Enfield, Green Party. The Tories and Greens are now set to hold talks over how they can work together to save the borough's green belt, with both venomously opposed to Labour's plans for building thousands of homes at Cruise Hill and Chase Park. So the Greens are teaming up with the Tories to stop new houses being built, houses that are desperately needed, because we have 11 million people renting at the moment from private landlords and being ripped off. So yeah, what's the answer, everyone? Because any government that you get is going to do some shit things. My question is, right, if I don't mind the vitriol against Starmer in some way, because I do know that it means that it kind of deflects the vitriol against Labour as a whole. It's kind of like laser targeted towards Starmer. So we get rid of Starmer, get a new leader in, and we get a new cabinet in. Would someone in the chat who is venomously anti-Labour and has been forever and anti-Starmer, under a Andy Burnham cabinet, would there be a chance of you coming back into the fold, or do you just hate Labour forever and you're never going to forgive them? There you go. We got some great quotes from Night Watch, God's Guards. The one angry pagan. Not even time to finish my cake. No, there is no more time, even for cake. For you, the cake is over. You have reached the end of cake. Yes, indeed. Look, like I say, he's on his way out. I would caution you all that whoever replaces him may be just as shit. Even if it's the person that you want, they may very well disappoint you, because that's what people do. Also, you have the shit show that the Tories have left us in. We are not as weak. We're not as powerful as we were. And our position on international affairs has been massively, massively diminished by the Tory Brexit and Farage's Brexit. There you go. Haven't Labour stopped developers holding onto land they've bought cheaply? Yeah. We should at least agree that Farage is a twat and we need each other to keep him out. Yeah. Well, again, like in the last election, I'll be pushing for tactical voting. If the SNP or Plaid Cymru or the Greens or even the fucking Tories are more likely to win in your fucking constituency in the next general election, please vote for that fucking party. Vote for the Monster Raven Looney Party. I don't care. You know, I'm not just going to sit here and set out a stall for you to vote for Labour. I just want refuck not to get into power, because they are fucking evil. And you think that it is bad now. You just fucking wait. You just fucking wait for the shit show that. Well, actually, you don't even have to wait. Just have a look across the pond. Have a look at what's happening in America, where we have this cacocracy in America, where you got these gangsters running the show, gangster billionaires doing whatever the fuck they want and crushing the common folk underfoot. If we can agree on that, we can work out everything else. Yeah. Interesting. Oh no, now I want cake, says Jimmy Anderson, bowling genius. Yes, me too. I think Catherine's youngest made some brownie the other day, but I think it's like peanut butter brownie. So I do like brownie, but like I'm not too fond of peanut butter, so I will eat it, of course, because it's cake. But maybe Count Binface should stand against Farage. He'll get my vote. Still got my little cute. Here we go. Hang on. I know I'll have to adjust my focus on this, but there you go. There's Count Binface. There he is. Oh, isn't he lovely? He's actually standing on the helmet of his old incarnation, which was I forgot what his name was. What was his name used to be? He was from a movie called like Gremloids or something. What was Count Binface? Lord Buckethead. Lord Buckethead. That was it. Yeah, I'll do that. I still need to paint me miniature. I think in my area, Nottingham will probably go Tory or Labour again, but I'd love a different party in our constituency. Yeah. No, Graham, just look at the local councils like Kent. Well, yeah. Or Worcestershire, where they've put the council tax up by 9%. Sammy Jane is saying Starmer must go. Yeah, Lord Buckethead. Yeah, I agree. He's got to go, but not right now. Not right now. I think they need to set things up so Burnham can come in. But I just want to cool your boots a little bit on this being a crazy new thing where we're going to live in the socialist utopia of which we all dream just because they changed the leader. It's not going to happen. We're still going to have the same shit to deal with. We're still going to have the same fucking twat in the White House. We're still going to have gobshites across the world doing war crimes. But yeah. But yes, is Count Binface a Warhammer figure? Is Count Binface a war? Yeah. He fights in my Warhammer campaigns. Warhammer 40k. Okay, so moving on. I'm going to go quickly. God, shit. I've been yapping on now for nearly 3 hours. Christ almighty, I can talk. You see, if no one interrupted me, I'll just talk constantly for 3 hours. I'm going to very, 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 very quickly go to the papers. I'm just going to read these out because you know what they're going to say. It's going to be like, Starmer must go. All these people say that Starmer must go. We hate Starmer. So first of all, we've got the Times here with alpha mums like me love. Amanda, what the fuck is an alpha mum? Go fuck yourself. Cabinet turns on Starmer. Same picture on the Telegraph. Time to go, Cabinet tells Starmer. Well, not really. Keir 6.0 short circuit his final abortive attempt to be authentic. 4-year-olds treated in obesity crisis. Irish to air Father Ted instead of Eurovision, which I think is hilarious. Iran ceasefire on life support, says Trump, and millions face cancelled flights in jet fuel crisis. There's Starmer. Same picture on the Times, same picture in the Telegraph, same picture on the Mail. After his last reset speech failed dismally. A coordinated avalanche of MPs demands Sir Keir Starmer resigns. Starmer on the brink as cabinet ministers tell him it's time to go. Dear PM, by order of the traitors, you have been murdered. Bit harsh. You'll be removed from number 10, and they've got Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner there as the traitors in the TV show, The Traitors. Starmer mutiny grows with Labour Party in open revolt against PM. Rebels turn on Starmer. Starmer's survival on the line as cabinet ministers urge him to quit. We've got the Daily Express here. The same picture. It's the same picture on all the papers. Look, one, two, three. It's different in that one. 3, different in those. 4, 5 papers. 6 papers. City FM. All but the same bloody picture on them and going, oh, that's quite impressive, isn't it? They've all coordinated the picture to tell the same story. PM on the edge. Yep. He's being edged. Starmer eyes British Steel as plots thicken. Nationalisation to appease Labour's left. Critics reject PM's vow and to change and stay. Starmer's reset speech met with rising tide of MPs urging him to move aside. Keir today, gone tomorrow. That's very good. I like that, City FM. You win the prize today for the funniest headline. And Greece vows to fast-track UK visitors until EU border system is fixed. That's fair enough. Streeting poised for leadership bid, but PM vows to fight on. So that's all, the tittle tattle. But we're going to go over and have a quick look at the Financial Times. Obviously, the lead story in the Financial Times is to do with Starmer, but jet fuel and petrol near critically low reserves, warns Saudi Aramco chief, which is the big oil company in Saudi Arabia. State-owned. The petrol and jet fuel supplies will reach critically low levels over the next few months if the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. Ashley owns up to role in toppling arch rival Cargill. Don't know what that's about. Ashley, what have you done? And then you've got Germany's E.ON agrees to buy OVO as regulation. By God, these companies got stupid fucking names, haven't they? Questions for Polanski. Green Party leader Zach Polanski has faced new questions on whether he paid unpaid council tax on his. He was living on a narrow boat in the canal, and apparently he didn't pay council tax. Trump to press cheat on Iran. UniCredit storm rumbles on. We've got Hearn Empire value at £1 billion. Barry and Eddie Hearn Sports Empire, which started below a snooker club in Romford in 1982, has been valued to more than £1 billion in a deal to sell to a minority stake to a US investor. Passengers test positive. 2 passengers have tested positive for rat-borne hantavirus after being evacuated from a cruise ship hit by the outbreak. Sony strikes music deal. Sony Music Group to buy Recognition's catalogue from Blackstone in a near $4 billion deal that hands it the rights to more than 45,000 songs from Leonard Cohen to Journey. Yeah. And then we've got Modi in energy appeal. The Prime Minister has appealed to Indians to save fuel by working from home. I've mentioned that. But that's something that Farage doesn't want. He doesn't want people working from home because disabled people can work from home, and he doesn't want disabled people working. He wants them to be ground up to make food for the rest of the hoi polloi, the chattering classes, the scam, the scam, as he possibly says in private. Mum want me to tell you she agrees with you that Starmer should go, just not yet. Yeah. And Peter Dankat, do you want some Lord of the Ring battles in Middle-earth figures for free? Yeah, sure. Yeah. Always happy for some what little figures. You mean? Or do you want to? Yeah. I'm up for some figures. I used to have some. I probably still do. At my mum somewhere in the attic. I used to have a load of drawers or something else. I had a Balrog. I had to stick its wings on with Milliput. Do you remember Milliput? I used to get it from, I don't know if they sold it in Games Workshop. Games in Liverpool. I think they sold Milliput. But what was the place that used to sell Scalextric and the trains? Do you remember that in St. John's Precinct? What was the name of the fucking place? I keep thinking Tandy, but that was something different. There was a game shop that used to sell Scalextric and trains, like Hornby train sets. And it was a nationwide chain that used to sell it. They used to sell Milliput. I once made a conker out of Milliput and painted it very, very successfully to make it look like a conker. And then I went around winning conker, every conker fight I was in school. I don't like gambling unless I know I can win. It tells you a lot about me. Oh yes, Dad used to use Milliput a lot when he had his own business. It was great stuff. Fucking great stuff. Thornby's. Was it Thornby's? That doesn't ring a bell. BT's! That's it! BT's! Oh yeah! God, that's going back a bit, isn't it? What do you sell? Slot cars and little trains. BT's. Yeah. Well, that's a blast from the past. Thank you for that. Okay, well, it's past 12 o'clock now. I have been rabbiting on for 3 hours and 3 minutes. So I'm going to say good night. God bless. I'm going to get going. You go on with your day. Enjoy the last hour, I guess, if you're going to listen to James O'Brien on LBC. Don't know if you have to, but please be sure to turn the radio off before Sheila Fogarty comes on, because she's a massive fucking turf. As I think... Unfortunately, a lot of people in the media are. So yeah, we'll see what developments are like. What I'd like you to do before I go, if you haven't given me a like already, please give this a like. Plays that way. And subscribe to the channel and also hit the bell notification icon, because if some developments happen later today, we might do a watch party. Okay, so we don't know what's going to happen with Starmer and with these MPs rebelling against it. I don't think much is going to happen, but if it does, that's going to be cool. So we'll talk about it. Ollie will be back with me tonight at 7:30 for another edition of the wonderful Geoscope, where we'll be talking about the shit going on around the world. Instead of the shit going on here, we'll be talking about the shit going on around the world. So please join us for that tonight at 7:30. And don't forget, tomorrow we've got Morning Brew in the morning. And the way things go, I mean, if I blather on till fucking midday, we might just segue straight into the King's speech at the state opening of Parliament tomorrow. They're in a magazine thing. I don't have the first 10, and specials went up on eBay. I got a tub full of those nickel ones. Pick them up next time you're up this way. It says Peak. Yeah, sure, man. I'm up for that. Take care, Graham and all. I'll have to go to my mum's and dig out some of this stuff. You know, I've got at my mum's. I don't know where it is, because like the attic's full of shite from my from other people in the family that aren't me. Trying to find something that's a bit of a needle in a haystack. But I had loads of like Lord of the Rings figures. I had a Shelob. I had a massive fucking I still have the Shelob. I could probably get that, but it's a bit scary. But yeah, I'll have a look at my mum's attic in Liverpool and see what I can find. I'm sure there's some cool shit in there. So anyway, listen, I'm gonna get off. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for putting up with my shite. And until we meet again, possibly later this afternoon, depending on what happens with Starmer and everything, but more likely 7:30 tonight. I'll hopefully see you along with Ollie. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning. All right, 9 a.m. And just remind me at the start of the show not to spend like 2 hours going off on one about, you know, why everyone is wrong, because it's not good for business. But thank you to everyone who's dropped a super chat in this morning. And until I see you again, like I say, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.